Actually, I'm excited to turn over the keys. Why are you doing that?
I don't want you to say.
Thank you for your efforts.
Yes, please.
What's going on, buddy? Your day in paradise. I'm telling me. I know Tom. I talked to him yesterday evening because he was looking for the packets, and then who else is on? Trying to think.
Sarah Foster is gonna be gone. She said that.
No, she said she was going to make this meeting.
Jackie just said she will do that. Maybe, hopefully.
Vicky's downstairs. That's what she told me. I mean, she said she would forego that meeting, and
Okay.
because that was the question she had posed to me, was because she was asking if I could reschedule this meeting. I'm like, God, it was like herding cats. I can't.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, I'll come. At least that's what she indicated on the email. Let's just change her mind.
Said something in an Astria meeting.
It's the correspondence we had was she could be here despite.
Here's Tom.
How's it going?
Long time no see, sir.
Yeah.
How are you?
All right.
Good.
Good to see you. How was North Carolina?
Weather was very nice.
Oh, I know.
Do we wanna give Ms. Foster just a few minutes to see if she comes, or do we wanna get started?
Yeah, I mean, let me look this 10 o'clock. I can get some clarity from her if she's gonna come. I mean. Give me 5 minutes. If you want.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see if I can get up.
this meeting noticed?
Yeah,
The starting time at 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay,
should we
you probably need to start at 10 o'clock.
get it going?
That's that number appears.
All right. Well, let's get this started. Today is October 30th. LTech meeting at 10 a.m. Let's start with roll call. Ms. Hancock.
Here.
Mr. Benby. Here. Ms. Foster. And Michelle is here. We have quorum. So let's get started with first of all, just a quick before we get started active agenda, I just want to introduce Ms. Hancock. For those who may know her, so Ms. Hancock, if you want to introduce yourself.
Teresa Hancock, I had a business here in Sunnyside for 30 years. I'm a member of the Lions Club. And so we are eligible to receive money from LTAC. So that's my position on the LTAC. I served on city council for 13 years. Great to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And thank you, Ms. Hancock, for being here with us. Your experience is well noted. So let's start with our active agenda. And before we get started on that one, I think the process is going to be to go over individual items and projects or events one by one. And then at the end, discuss the funding or, to take it to council. Is that correct? That have we done it, Mr. Denny, and 3 of them? So we'll go ahead and do it that way. So we'll start with the first one. With Cinco de Mayo. Do we want to start calling them up here for Cinco de Mayo? Who's here to represent them?
They're gonna come up and present and then we're gonna ask them questions and.
Yes.
And I do have a quick question. So if there's a conflict of interest, for example, with Cinco de Mayo, I'm the Rotary president. And so this will be presented by Rotary. What is the process for that? And what has it been in the past?
Mr. Riley.
If you believe there's a conflict of interest, you can recuse yourself, discuss your, make a recommendation.
Okay,
For that.
okay. And do I need to announce that ahead, I'm assuming?
You need
Yeah.
to establish for the record, that's
Yeah.
why you're excluding yourself. from
Yes.
Participation.
Is that what we've done? I'm assuming, right?
This is the first LTAC meeting I've been invited to for Sunnyside.
Okay, good, I was just calling you.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've met you.
Oh, sorry, Ben Riley. So I'm the
He's
civil
the
attorney
city.
for Sunnyside, so.
Okay, so I think for the purpose of this first one, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I am the Rotary president. And so I have interest in this succeeding and the proposal coming forward and
Well, can I ask you a question?
yes.
Why would it be a conflict of interest?
Well, I don't know, that's why I was asking what the historical has been, and so if I'm only on this committee as a constructive member that is someone that receives awards, and you have the potential to receive awards, then it depends on, I think it would depend on how this committee is structured, and if the purpose of me being here is to advocate for my organization, or if it's me being a community participant and just looking for the best use of these resources. Does that make sense? Like it's almost two different lenses. And I don't know, that initial one would be like, well, then, yeah, I wouldn't have to abstain and I would have to vocalize my support. Or if it's more of that avenue of I'm just here as a community participant and need to not have that conflict because I'm looking out for the best use of funds and not having any biases.
Are you a member of this organization? That's.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, like I'm the president of this Rotary Club,
Okay. Probably is an established conflict.
that's what I would assume, and that's why I wanted to discuss it, but I get I get what you're both at sides.
I think you have a conflict with everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
cause
the-
then I could say, well, I don't want anyone to get anything, yeah,
I think the conflict of interest more if it was maybe two different organizations going for the same.
I would agree with that
Yeah.
there.
I agree
Um,
too.
I see more of a conflict of interest there. I believe Rotary is the only one that applied for the.
so then I
Cinco de
can
Mayo.
still have a position on it, cause there's only one, or just.
I would think
Yeah.
so.
Sorry, to make it complicated right off the bat.
No, and you put it on the record, so it's on the record that, and when they do the fairness doctrine at council, is can you decide this fairly? Even though you may have an association with one of the groups, can you decide it fairly? And I think that's the standard.
The fact that you asked the question tells me I think you decided fairly.
Yes.
Okay.
And I appreciate you bringing that, putting it on the record, so,
Okay.
yeah, we'll get started with Cinco de Mayo. Do we have anybody to call them up?
I mean, I can call Victoria.
Yeah, if you wanna call them up.
Oh, how's it going?
Okay, hi, good morning. So I am in the right room. We're ready for you to come up and present for Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye. She is here. I told her to ask for us.
Or are we gonna have worse to say?
So
I can move.
you guys can pass this around. This gives us,
If you wanna scoot over one?
Sure.
However,
In the middle.
yeah.
I realize I can take my personal phone.
oh, no worries, no worries. I
Um,
wasn't sure. I have your cell phone in here, but. I
yeah,
wasn't
my
sure.
work one.
Okay.
Oh, that's why I'm personal line too, and I was driving,
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
I went to the law enforcement.
No, and I was telling, Deputy Mayor, we have to change some emails and I thought you'd be here.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Here you go.
Over here or right here? So welcome, Victoria Hernandez, you could go ahead and just give a presentation on Cinco de Mayo, and yourself first.
Okay, so this will be our second year for Rotary to take on Cinco de Mayo. Let's see, this year we asked for 30,000. Last year we asked for 20,000. This year, the reason why we were requesting 30,000 is for entertainment and more advertising. Last year, I mean, yeah, I didn't have the application. Oh, yeah. Present. We wanted to expand our advertising with Bustos Media, but not only Bustos Media, go kind of old school as far as expanding to the movie theaters, going back to how they used to do advertising. So we wanted to kind of hit that, target audience for it. Yeah. We also wanted to,
You want a copy of the?
yeah, I had no idea we were presenting today, sorry about that. So with our numbers last year, we were able to make about $34,000. One of the things we had an issue with was with our vendors, as far as making sure everybody had the right, documentation in order. We could have pulled in a lot more money off of vendors just on the fees, charging for them. But it was just we wanted to be able to expand behind Safeway and get more vendors in that area. So for entertainment last year, normally or historically, Cinco de Mayo has never had entertainment on Friday. They usually have a DJ. This year, we decided, why not give local artists the opportunity just to go in and perform. We were able to get 3 artists for free for Friday. Saturday and Sunday, Bustos Media, what they did is they are able to contract with different artists under, radio, and they were able to help bring in some artists and local artists and our 3 major artists that were performing. This year, we wanted to be able to have more than a month of the radio ads playing, not just radio, but we also wanted to hit their part of I guess, the television, TV station, how they contract with that. So they're gonna be a huge help as far as advertising and the entertainment for us. And that's why we decided that we needed a little bit more money for that purpose. Last year, when we started, we did Cinco de Mayo, and this year, we started with the budget of 0, or we put that in our head, let's not spend money, let's figure out how to do that. So we did that with the vendors. Once vendors paid their fee, we were able to kind of go and start paying for the advertising and things here and their operating costs. And so we plan to start that process again this year for the event. This year, we wanted to bring in a little bit more, I guess, bigger artists than last year. Last year, we had, I mean, more than 10, 15 artists out there, and even on Sunday, a few of the artists were free that came down and they just wanted to perform. And one of them was our last performer. They decided, because they saw the lineup that we had, they wanted to perform for free, and they're normally paid. They charge quite a bit and they wanted to come down. And so we're getting a lot of that, a lot of artists reaching out to us to join Cinco de Mayo. I think this year, one of our plans and one of our goals is to not only target our.
So, when you say last year, is it actually this year?
This year, yeah, this year.
So this year
May,
will be
yeah.
next year, right? Okay. all right.
Sorry about that, yeah. We've done it both years, but yeah, for this, in May, we were able to not only, we wanted to target the downtown businesses and be able to promote them, and so we got a local DJ to kind of MC that and shout out the businesses if they had any sales going on, or have little interviews with them, have them come up on stage and interview and talk about their business. One of the businesses that had just opened right next to Hernandez's in Law, they had been open for 2 weeks. And so I told them, bring out your stuff, put it on, some crates and let's talk. And so the DJ, had him talk about his story and, how he decided to open a business in Sunnyside. And so with that, we followed up with him a week later and he's like, man, my sales have just been crazy. We wanted to target those businesses downtown that, you walk by the pawn shop. It's there, but do people actually go into our downtown stores, walk around? And so our goal for next year, 2025, is to be able to partner with these businesses and promote them, put them on our backdrops, being able to put their logos out there, and things like that, to just try to target that and make sure they get business as well. The downtown businesses have the ability to bring out a little booth or tent in front of their area. As long as there's some walkway for people, they're able to kind of promote their stuff. And they've done that, I think, almost every year. But this last year you had more out there, trying to promote their business, and we would just walk around and have the MC kind of just get a little bit more of their story. We are still going to be working with our same carnival vendor that they've been working with for the last 15 years. And this next year, she is planning on bringing a little bit more bigger rides, I guess, that they have in store. When it comes to our security at the police department, they do awesome with that. The blueprint for Cinco de Mayo has always been there as far as what security and the carnival and the vendors and how the lineup has always been. I think anyone that does this event, it's more of the entertainment, who you're going to bring in, how are you going to advertise that? And I think for us, it's just we got to get into promoting our downtown, and what the reason is why we use Cinco de Mayo, bringing in people. We did have vendors from Wenatchee, Pasco, Idaho, California come down just to be part of Cinco de Mayo. And with being with Bustos Media, it allowed us to get audiences in different states that we didn't have before. And for us, having 2 vendors from California, ship their items and come and sell here because they heard it on the radio station, that was, kind of huge for us. So We're kind of hoping we get more of that and bring people into downtown. You will always have your locals that are going to attend your events, and we just want to target the outside individuals to be able to come down to downtown.
Committee members, any questions for Ms. Hernandez?
Okay.
This financial statement that you provided, is this based on last year?
This May.
Okay, so for 2024, so you actually have a starting balance of $34,000. Yeah. And I would just point out that with that starting balance, you really don't need any tax balance.
Can you share about what we've done with Rotary with the proceeds from the event?
Yes, so with the proceeds of the event, we actually give out scholarships to the high school students. We've also donated to the football team for their camp. And the funds, what we use for the funds is also for the next event. So lighted implement parade that's coming up as well. So but we gave out 3 or 4 scholarships this year.
And additionally, we supported the swim team.
Our swim team has been supported. We have purchased items for them, and who else? And we've also, donated to them for their the items that they are needing to be able to function like swim team.
I think that's very good. That's an economic development. But the purpose of lodging tax funds is tourism. It's not necessarily economic development. I'm just making that statement. It's a 3-day event, right? So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Members might come in Thursday, stay Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Would they stay even Monday?
Well, they don't stay Monday because, Monday is, the start of business.
So they're all cleaned up, basically.
They're cleaned up late night Sunday by 12 midnight. Yeah, they're out.
So if we have, I'm just gonna go through a little math here. And I think I'm being generous here. I think we have about 300 hotel rooms in Sunnyside, probably a few less than that. If they were all occupied by single income, that would be 900 rooms. If we all got $150 a night, which would be nice, that would be $135,000 in lodging revenue. And the lodging tax that is generated by that lodging revenue is about $5,400. So what you're asking for is in excess of the amount of tax that you would generate. I'm not saying that's bad, this is just my opinion here. But that's a thought process that I use when I do this, because the purpose of this fund is to build tourism and build the lodging tax fund. So those are my comments, and I don't know if that's something that is, if that's something that you are familiar with.
Yeah, so this year was our first year for Rotary to take it on and to kind of go through the process of understanding the lodging tax funds. One of the things that we know that we want to improve for next year is being able to capture the numbers, working with the hotels actively and saying, maybe you can get a discount if you're here, or telling the vendors when they're, going to stay for the weekend, or individuals staying for the weekend, hey, this is where you can go. If you give them this code, maybe you get a discount, or if you're going to stay at any type of hotel, let them know that you're here for Cinco de Mayo, so we can capture those numbers and get accurate data. So that's one of the things that we really want to do. We just, as our first year, we were trying to figure out how to maneuver the whole process by ourselves. And so that's one of the things we did add for this year, is we want to be able to capture true numbers and know who is coming from outside of Sunnyside and staying here.
Okay, and that's good. Can I suggest something to you? The way that it makes sense for more lodging tax dollars to be put toward this event is to grow the number of outside people. And I would suggest that you think about, maybe step outside the box a little bit, think about something that would attract people from the outside that's different from what you're already doing. Don't stop what you're doing, but add to it. One of the things that I suggested, I don't know, years ago, was to get the high school involved, talk to the history teacher. And say, what does Cinco de Mayo actually represents, the Battle of Puebla, right? Reenact the Battle of Puebla. Black powder and lots of fun, smells noisy, and people come to see it. I know because if we go to Union Gap, they reenact Civil War battles there, people come from all over. That would bring more people in. And funds could be used for that, and I'm just gonna take my hands off that.
So now that you brought that up, that is actually one of the things that we were thinking about doing. With the high school, we are already working with the football team and with the administrators. Holly's really been helping out, trying to bring in, like their local mariachi band, being able to, have somebody out there, bring in what it used to be back then. Back then, I remember we used to have talent shows at Cinco de Mayo. We used to, do a lot more than just entertaining, like music wise. And I think we need to get back to that. And, having, local performers as far as the school having to do that. I don't think I've seen that here, and I think that that's a good idea, and that is something that we want to do.
Great, questions? I have a few questions,
Mhm.
So that's a great idea, right? And I don't think I saw it on the application. Is there anything else that you're thinking about changing for next year that can bring in more tourists from outside? The 50-mile perimeter,
Well, there have been a lot of ideas thrown around. It just really depends on who is the content expert in, wanting to bring in certain things. So we did bring in, try to bring in a car show to bring outsiders. We did get a lot of car clubs from Seattle to come down. But see, that doesn't keep people here for the 3 days, right? They stay for the 1 day. So trying.
It's better than no days.
Exactly, but we're trying to, how are we going to, one of the ideas that we brought up was kind of like a passport. That idea, and I don't know how it would work, it was an idea that we were thinking about, was we create some type of business, local business downtown passports within those 3 days. Individuals would pick those up, they'd go down and visit the businesses, maybe purchase something, kind of like a bingo card, okay, go to this one, you get $5 off of this, you buy this item. Or talk to this, business about, training or something, and put it down, and then at the end, if they fill it out within those 3 days, even if it's that first day, then they get a prize. We were thinking about something like that, and that was something that I've always wanted to do just in general in Sunnyside, is how do we get people to the businesses? I live here, born and raised, and I can tell you, I haven't been to about 10 of the downtown stores before, until I started working for the city. I didn't go to those stores. The locals, we shop out. We go to Tri-Cities, we go to Yakima. So that's not our target audience. Our target audience is how do we bring people and keep them here to shop. And so that was one of the ideas that I wanted to bring around, was bring out some type of, I'm calling it a passport, but being able to go down to these businesses and do that. And the idea, the reason why I brought that up is because at Sunnyside Eagles, they have a passport. So if they visit every Eagles, they get a free drink. So you have, Eagle members go to all the different areas just to get their free drink, and they're traveling from Washington, Idaho, California to do that. And I think it's just a fun thing that they do, but why not do that in the city? Bring that idea. And I think that is something that we can do, is for Cinco de Mayo, is how are we able to get these people to go inside of this store and actually purchase something, or get to know the business. And that way, as the incentive is, I get a stamp from this business and I've been there. Okay, I can put in my passport. Okay, I can go in for a drawing or something. So that's one of the ideas that we wanted to do as well for next year. And just kind of, get people to know downtown, but also get them to stay for the weekend, for the 1 day, for the 2 day, and get that going. And so that was one of the ideas.
The majority of the advertising used with Busto Media, right?
Mhm.
And that's who you're gonna use for next year, you plan on using for next year.
Correct.
How soon or I guess two questions. How soon did you start advertising for the 2024 event?
A month prior.
A month prior?
Mhm.
Okay, is there any room for improvement in that? I mean, just this last weekend, right? We went to the high school and when we got something to eat. And one of the vendors was actually promoting Pasco Cinco de Mayo. You
Yeah,
know, it's almost 8 months, so I think maybe expanding on and not just a month before would bring in a lot more
Yes.
people, you know, would get people excited for Cinco de Mayo, especially if we could get a good lineup.
so we saw that this week and one of the things that we're kind of just waiting on is getting through Lighted Implement Parade. Once Lighted Implement, we complete that weekend of Lighted Implement Parade. Get it going and we'll start working and looking for the entertainment. So that in the background is already happening, but it's funds wise, I think the difference between that Cinco de Mayo and this Cinco de Mayo is I don't know if they charge to watch them or to watch entertainment. And here we don't. So we have to be able to utilize the amount of money that we have to get certain artists. One of the things that we had to look at last year or this year was some artists, you know, they want to be fed and airplane and all of those things. It's not just paying for the entertainment. So with Bustos, we don't deal with that. They kind of just say, hey, these are the artists within your budget that you can work with and we can start going. So all they're waiting for is just to know how much they have to work with and we can get that going.
How far is the reach, I guess, radio?
Arizona, California,
Reach that
Texas,
point?
yeah.
So they're able to advertise this event?
Yes, and so and one of the packets that we provided, it shows the data that they actually and how far it reaches and the states that they reached. That we had provided here. But yeah, so we actually, for next year, that was one of the items of improvement was advertising way ahead of time. And not just the radio, but start with the flyers, but we wanted to be able to make sure that we get the artist and know exactly how much we're working with to be able to let him know, okay, start the hunt, work on that. He gets that done within a month and advertising can start February, March, and as far as radio, but for knowing, you know, your big ticket artist, that can be immediately once we find out how much and we kind of go from there. So he's currently working on that.
He told you your competition is already advertised.
Yes, yes,
I believe they're in the same weekend, right?
they are, so they are only, I believe it's only Sunday
For that.
for them, so that's only a Sunday thing, ours is the 3 days. And we also didn't want to mix up the advertising for the Lighted Implement Parade that's gonna be happening with Cinco de Mayo. So we wanted to just try to focus on the Lighted Implement Parade, get that out of the way, and then go ahead and start advertisement. For that, so we did see those flyers and I did speak to Bustos Media about that, and he says, just get through the event that you have right now. And then, well, he's already working on the layout, so.
Okay. There's no further questions, we'll move on to the next one. Appreciate you coming in.
All right. Thank you. Did that.
Mike, do we have somebody calling that can bring the next?
Yeah, I can grab it. Who do you want next and I'll?
Can I ask a question before we go on? Can you please clarify who is eligible to receive lodging tax dollars?
Well, so the lodging tax dollars apply to anything that provides a benefit for tourism, they apply for that. So any municipal organization, any local organization within the city itself is eligible for this, and they can show us the purpose of this is to obtain for tourism.
Do they need to be nonprofit?
No, I don't think they do or that.
You might want to check that.
Well, cause you know, I have read that RCW and it does, my perception is it does not need to be a nonprofit organization.
Mine is also the same.
It doesn't need to be a nonprofit organization, the purpose of the
But they need to
request
promote
has
tourism.
to promote tourism for the benefit of the city.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point, Tom, but I wanted to get some clarification on that. Cause I know the intent is to fill the coffers of LTAC based on, to build that revenue, but is there any intent, cause tourism is sort of a broad term. Cause I read the statute as it needs to promote tourism, which obviously has a direct impact on heads and beds. But you can't have one without the other. You can't have LTAC dollars without people going to your hotel, right? But you can't generate that without tourism. So
There's a two-pronged test for all this. One is, does it promote tourism, and two, is it for the public benefit of Sunnyside?
right, yeah,
And so as long as they can establish that connection, it doesn't matter whether they're nonprofit or not, the organization's requested the funds.
So, and you don't have a TPA here, there are TPAs in other communities, those I know, those funds can be given to for-profit businesses.
What is the TPA?
It's a tourism commission area.
oh, okay, yeah.
And I just want clarification, because depending on the municipality, and I sit on these boards in a variety of municipalities, processes, no, that would be profit to receive LTAC dollars.
But
The
can that be,
RCW doesn't require that, and then Sunnyside has established that as part of their municipal code.
That's fine, I just want that clarified upfront.
but a subsequent question, can our committee here make that determination and say we want to focus on nonprofit or we don't? Like, can we exclude certain classifications or is that not allowable?
The determination of how LTAC dollars are provided is up to the committee in the situation.
So I guess if that's a thought of yours, you could prioritize nonprofits in that selection criteria. I guess is what I'm asking.
If that's what you believe is more appropriate for the dollars, but the focus has to be how are you increasing and providing tourist benefit for the public of Sunnyside.
It's been a long time since I've been on LTAC, but do we have a priorities list? Because I saw one that I liked that said broaden hotel occupancy, leverage additional funding, benefit the off-season and enhance Sunnyside's image.
Right, cause to me, I'm more interested in who's the most effective at it, cause we have real perception problems on the Sunnyside. We need to rebuild our brand. And if a nonprofit does it ineffectively and we're prioritizing, so to me, it's about like who can deliver the service the most effectively. Not that, I'm not saying one can do it better than the other here. I'm just saying whoever does the best job is who me as city manager, I would like.
Yeah, ultimately.
I would suggest that we might have the carbon enforcement first year, and we need to deal with it because we've got all these applications. But we don't have a long-term plan for tourism, and we should have a long-term plan.
I agree completely.
And we're talking with the CED about that on Tuesday.
So, and I've asked for that to be done here numerous times.
And actually, that's before we adjourn, that was one of the,
So good.
yeah.
Let's deal with these. These people
Okay.
have the time and effort to do it.
Okay, yeah. I agree.
So let's get the basketball, right? And then the next one is.
It's 509 and
Yeah.
70.
Yeah, they've got several applications. Do you ever give us a report on how these different things affect your overnight stays?
I can.
I'd like that.
That was one of my questions.
Oh.
That's at the end. Yeah,
It would be incumbent not just on me, but the other.
Yes,
properties.
yes, yeah.
And if you can get them to come to the table, God bless you.
I know we struggled with that in the past.
Yeah, a chance I can get them.
Yes.
It's part of how we get these meetings. faster.
Probably ask Jackie, Tom.
Yeah, that's our best way to understand next.
We cannot answer this. That's what it was before.
Because they were usually pretty succinct.
Well, it's funny, we'll be in here waiting for a department head manager.
Deeper.
It's real, walk up something else. Well, this is kind of nice, you're not even outside, you're just outside the room.
Yeah.
When this remodel was started, we suggested, you know, this is a little bigger arena, so maybe use.
Might be an item we can discuss.
We have the basement too.
But-
which
But having
is
college schools go through those and
Basement,
work on
a good
it there, because they
It
can be
is, it's the
really
accessible.
hard to understand. I think they can be more basic.
That can be changed.
And the
I don't know.
psychology,
Have to go through them and see.
I'm the one who has to sit in the basement, if there is a moral issue, or more, not morality, but morale.
It has that backroom dealing feeling when you go down. It's just- it's-
But if you get it all finished up right, it's amazing how.
A little lighting, I think it improved that.
Yeah.
Cause I think we already have the pavement.
This is the basketball guy.
All right.
This is the Nitro Nationals guy.
I was wondering where you guys were.
Did you get, why don't you get him instead?
509 is not here.
Okay.
You know. She was,
Sorry about
let me text her. Cause that's Amy Rubio, right?
No.
No, is that somebody different?
Yeah, I'm off, I'll do them.
The phone grab on.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Washington Nitro Nationals. We have John Nybor. How do you pronounce it? Nybor. Here for presentations. Whenever you're ready.
Well, honestly, guys, we didn't know, all of us down there, that we were actually doing a presentation as well. So this is good. Give me an idea how exactly you would like me to start out.
It's just kind of a rundown. of-
Synopsis of what we are.
Yeah.
So Washington Nitro Nationals started out as Northwest Nitro Nationals in 2011. And it was called Northwest Nitro Nationals, and it was in Yakima, as what the guy that was promoted in was calling it. And ultimately, I got involved by telling him, I said, it's in 98944, it's in Sunnyside. And he said, well, you really think that it's in Sunnyside, then get us some money. We applied for ILTAC funds and changed everything from all our marketing to Sunnyside. Anything that had anything to do with Washington Nitro Nationals has Sunnyside listed on it, all our promotions, t-shirts, etc. We see people that come from throughout the United States and even as far as Europe. Nonetheless, it is a major event. It's not just a Sunnyside event, it's an event that is part of a series. And that series brings riders again from throughout the Northwest and the United States. The series now has, we used to be sanctioned by a group called NAHA, which was the North American Hill Climbers Association. And that was just for our West Coast group. As of last year, we teamed up with American Motorcycle Association Pro Racing. The AMA is the largest and oldest sanctioning body for motorcycling events in the world. That being said, with the AMA involved, now instead of us just being a West Coast series with 6 events, we're now a West Coast series and an East Coast series. And that broadens our footprint nonetheless, plus also, for lack of a better word, visibility. Now people throughout the United States are seeing that there's a West Coast and an East Coast, which ultimately is going to open us up to potentially having the championship in Sunnyside in 2026. So again, going back to the AMA Pro Racing, because this year was the first year that we were able to pit both the East Coast and the West Coast against each other. We had a championship held in Ohio. And that's a huge deal where You can have two sides of the country competing against each other, it'd be no different than like the Super Bowl or the World Series, etc. Opening up again the doors for more. I wish I could come up with the right word. Tourism. We'll just use tourism. People are now going to be coming from the East Coast to watch a West Coast race. West Coasters are going to go watch the East Coast race, and the potential championship in 2026 is going to open up in a big way. TV coverage because of AMA Pro Racing is going to be something that's was supposed to be done this year, but because of Hurricane Milton, they couldn't get the TV crew from Florida, which is where the AMA Pro Racing is based out of. They couldn't get them to get out just for general safety. Our event brings in roughly 3,500 people, and that's been our consistent average. We'd like to increase that. I think with the fact that the AMA Pro Racing is our sanctioning body, that's going to open it up, and because of the East Coast West Coast challenge, it's going to open it up. One of the requirements, what I understand for LTAC funds, is to show heads and beds, also show people that are coming from 50 miles away or greater. Our riders roster is pretty self-explanatory. There's 100 to 200 riders on that roster, and you just go down the list and see their names. So it's not like we're fabricating it and saying, oh yeah, we see so many people and they come from, we've got that heads and beds. Tom's one of the hotels that we use, and the Best Western has been our host hotel for out of the 15, this will be our 15th year. I think it's been about 8 years that we've used the Best Western as our host hotel. The main reason we're using the Best Western Grapevine Inn is for the simple fact that it's got a nice location. It's right off the freeway. It's, in my opinion, one of the cleanest hotels with a beautiful view, and they run it nice. The employees have been good to our guests. We use the other hotels as well. Over the years, we've gone around and I've gone to each one of them and said, hey, how many people have come in? Are you booked? Are you not booked? They've all indicated that they've been booked. The last few years, I've not gone back and got a list from these people. I've handed them a sheet and said, just let me know. But that's only as good as the employee that's wanting to write down the information of who's staying there. The money that we would, or the amount of money that we've applied for, we would be using for marketing materials mainly. TV ads, radio ads. We have not had enough cash flow to do TV ads and radio ads like we would like to.
Do you mind explaining a little bit about the event itself and
Yes.
what type of activities are going on during
Thanks
it?
for asking. Like I said, this is free balling and it's
No, thank you.
a little nerve wracking. Just the event itself is the oldest motorsports in the world. So it started in the 1900s and it's motorcycle hill climbing. So basically back in the early days, somebody said, hey, George, I bet you I can out climb you on that hill right there. Next thing you know, Lynn Dolan said, hey, I can beat both you guys. And that's where it evolved from. And so now there is pro hill climbing and there is, for lack of a better word, redneck hill climbing. And basically I'd show up like this and get on my bike and put on a helmet maybe and go hill climbing. That was the way it started. This is basically, if you watch any pro motorsports, whether it's NASCAR or whether it's NHRA or if it's motocross, supercross, these guys are dressed up. We have certain requirements, and that's where the AMA Pro Racing comes into. There's a level of professionalism that comes along with AMA being our sanctioning body, that you don't just get to run what you brung. You have to show up and you have to be professional. There's safety checks, there's gear checks, etc. We have not judges, but we have, what do you want to call it? Referees, for lack of a better, somebody that's on the line making sure that things are done right there as well. You got anywhere from kids to women to over the hill guys, right? but they're all held to the same standards.
And then, do many people stay in trailers overnight?
Yeah, so it's a 3-day event and we have dry camping out there. We have roughly 250 dry camping spots. 55 of them are dedicated to the pros. And basically the top pros get their first 10 spots. And then after that, whoever shows up gets the next spots, and then eventually they'll end up in the general campsites. We have food vendors out there. We have product vendors out there, we have merch vendors out there. And we have what's called Dry Creek Saloon, so you can call it a beer garden if you'd like, but Dry Creek Saloon. Over the past, we've had music, live music. To me, it's too many moving parts. There's so many moving parts that happen out there that I don't want to be in charge of trying to make sure that the band is all set up. So we have a DJ that just plays music. And quiet time is 11 o'clock, and then we start opening things up at 7. Racing starts at 8:30. Riders meeting is at 8.
In the years that you've applied for LTAC funds and haven't received it, how has that changed your financial operations from the event?
It just makes it more challenging.
But you
Again,
still put it on.
we put it on no matter what. You know, and that just may be just a dumb Dutchman thinking that, you know what, you're not gonna stop me from doing this. We're going to do it. It's the LTAC funds again, when I opened my big mouth and the guy was soliciting the crowd, hey Yakima, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, it's not Yakima. You know, it's Sunnyside. So then he said, who thinks it's Sunnyside? And everybody cheered louder, and I'm like, yeah. And that's where I found out about the LTAC funds and I applied, and it made it easier for us to get the marketing materials that we needed to transition from everybody calling it Yakima, all the ads were Yakima. Even after we changed our marketing materials to Sunnyside, people were still calling it Yakima. And the more we pressed on about it, and the more business cards and the more posters and save the dates and what have you, now everybody knows it as Sunnyside. So marketing materials is a big thing.
I've got a couple questions for you. The reason they call it Yakima is because.
Or you asking me why they call it? Because in the beginning, when the promoter promoted it, Yakima was the closest city. And I said, no, it's not.
But is Yakima still the closest?
No.
Okay,
We're 17 miles from Sunnyside.
okay.
Yakima is right at 30 miles, I think it is. Tri-Cities right at 50 miles. So that was their logic there. Is it, well, people know it because Yakima. I'm like, no, it's in Sunnyside and that's where it's going to be.
So the other question I have is you're asking for 30,000 in LTAC. But your sponsors and you're explaining that this is going more national and people from the East Coast and the West Coast, but your sponsorship is less than the LTAC work. Is there an opportunity there for you to ask for more sponsorship?
No, there's a great opportunity, Teresa, to ask for more sponsorship. Right now, we're still behind the gun as far as getting our marketing materials. I need a sponsor pack that I have to have together. And in all reality, between September and November is the time that you hit up these corporations to get your sponsorship dollars. But don't have the cash to do it. I mean, after this event's over, we have just enough money in there to make sure that we pay our property taxes and our accounting fees, et cetera, et cetera.
How do you need cash to ask for sponsorships?
Yeah, I
How
don't
do you need
understand.
You need
Solicitation.
marketing materials to ask for sponsorship.
Don't you have $8,600?
I'm sure I do. There's other things, like I said, I just paid my property taxes, so now I don't have that money that I can apply for marketing materials.
And additionally, there's a lot of, between September and November, for example, there's a lot of asks for sponsorships going around. All of the events are trying to obtain sponsorships right now. So it does make it pretty competitive to request sponsorship funds.
It's because you want to be in their 2025 budget.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly right.
yeah, so everyone's hustling.
I have a question, John, you said about 3,500 people attended your event?
On an average,
On average?
we've seen more, we've seen less. In 2020, we didn't get to do the event. 2021, we didn't get to do the event. And then in 22, the people that pre-registered to get a campsite, et cetera. 2 years of no event. So we just paid it forward. So we took that money that we could have now got in 22, but we got it in 20 and we just paid it forward. And we, at the last minute is when the Inslee lifted the ban. So it was March. I think it was March. We had 45 days to put on an event.
Of those 3,500, how many would you say come from outside the 50 mile?
That's a question that I don't know if I have a good answer for. Out of 3,500, I'd say maybe 2,000. That's,
You put in here.
60% of the
60%,
30,
yeah.
the 3,000 to 5,000 travels from the 50 miles further.
Mhm.
So it's about 60%.
And that number is what?
out of 2,500, I thought, right?
If you're going off of the 5,000 estimation.
And also you say that you're part of a series, how many events prior to Sunnyside is there in this?
Well, over the years, and it's no different than government gets in and regulates something and says, you know, no longer does Tom's property qualify for that because it was government property and we're pulling back the regulations, so you can't put it on. So one of our events in California, something like that happened, then the owner died of the promoter / owner of the property. So it used to be, it started off in California, then it came to Sunnyside, and from Sunnyside, it went to Columbus, Montana. From Columbus, Montana, it went to Oregon, and then it went to New Plymouth, Idaho.
Do you advertise at those prior events for your Sunnyside event?
We have advertised in those other events, but now we are the opener for the season. Yeah.
You know, because on the calculations, then the number of stays that you're proposing is there's 875 stays, heads and beds.
Heads and beds, and it could be also included in your dry camping as well, but I can't tell you that there's 875 stays. You know, this is a challenging thing to come up with all this information and get it accurate. I mean, that's my just personal
Sure,
opinion. It is very challenging and somewhat, in all reality, maybe a bit invasive where you're getting into our financials. We're not opposed to showing you all that because this is who we are, but you know, it's almost like you're auditing us. All we want to do is put on an event and promote our community. That's it. There's no other thing. I feel that if George was putting on an event and he made $1 million every year net, but he applied for LTAC funds, and as long as he meets the requirement, it doesn't matter whether he's not for profit or for profit, he meets the requirement that you or the LTAC has had in place, and he promotes our community. Why is that a bad thing? I don't see that as a bad thing. We want to promote our community. We're not asking for a freebie. We're asking for help to promote our community and put it on the map as a place to come. And that's it, in simple terms. Whether we make money or don't make money, whether we're profit or not for profit, as long as we're meeting the requirements, then I think we should be acknowledged and looked at. The amount that we're asking for, you know what, it'd be nice if there was a class to say, okay, guys, this is how it works. This is how you can qualify for this much money, and this is what you should do in order to get that money. Sometimes you're just throwing stuff at the wall, and that sounds really bad, but sometimes that's what you're doing. You're like, I don't know. I know that it takes us about $65,000 to $75,000 to put on an event. That's before we make any money. And you've got marketing materials out there. You've got your merchandise that you need to buy. You've got your fuel that you need to buy. You've got your permits that you need to get. You've got your equipment that you need to rent. You've got your alcohol that you need to rent. Your signage that. There's a lot of money involved.
I see your budget for advertising is $15,000, is that correct?
Where's it at, Teresa?
Right here.
That was for last year. That's what we spent.
Oh, this,
This is for what we spent last year.
okay. Okay,
That's not our budget, that's what we had to spend.
do you know what your budget is for this year?
Well, we'd like to up it up to $30,000 so we can reach out to the Seattle, the Portland, the Spokane, the Boise, Idaho. That's what we'd like to do. But TV ads cost a lot of money, and radio ads. Media ads, I mean, you've got your Facebook blast, do that. But we also need somebody that runs our media department, and we currently don't have that. You know, it's whoever can get on there and get something done. So the $30,000, now we could get somebody, and we'll just say Joey Smith. Joey Smith is now down there every day on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, what have you, X, whatever you want to call it. And he's conversing with people, so you keep that momentum going. It's hard to keep that momentum going when you don't have that team. And it's not a woe is me, it's just the reality. So that's where that dollar amount comes from. We want to up our marketing. We want to maybe put somebody in place to help us do that media stuff.
And I have a couple of.
Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. You remit the lodging tax return for this event.
No,
Why is that?
I was just going to ask if camping qualified as the
It does, because
lodging tax itself.
it does. But he's not in the Sunset City limits. And I would think the county would ask you to.
I deal with the county on a regular basis, and even more so now that my former partners are not there. Are we doing it because we don't want to do it? No. The county's never told me I've had to do it. I've asked them every question. We've been scrutinized and interviewed and public meetings with them. It's not something that they have had required of us. If it was required of us, then we would be doing it.
Do you, second question, I guess, the amount of money that you're asking for, you know how much revenue needs to be generated to generate that lodging tax?
No, actually, I don't. And that's where I said it'd be nice if there was a class that teaches about that. So when we ask for the dollars, we're not asking for the sky, and there's
So,
some,
let me give it to you, it's very simple. Take the amount that you're asking for, $30,000 or $50,000, divide it by 0.04. That will tell you, because 4% of all lodging tax revenue is remitted as lodging.
and Tommy, you gave us that thing years ago, and the fact is, we could prove heads and beds, and we could prove tourism, people coming in from 50 miles or greater, and yet, not to pick on any event, but there was an event that they continually got money every year, and they could not prove any heads and beds or where their tourists came from. So that's the problem. This needs to be, in my opinion, an equal playing field. I don't care that another event in town gets it. I'm all about anything that promotes our community. But when you see one event or two events getting a boatload of money and they can't prove the heads and beds, and they can't prove where their tourism people are coming from, or their tourists are coming from, it makes somebody sitting on the outside going, how does this work?
You have a tax committee that I guess didn't do its job.
Well, and I think you bring up some very valid concerns and criticisms of the process that has been established for the LTAC RFP process. And we had talked briefly at the one other only meeting I've been at about how we want to improve it moving forward. And so I'm sure we're taking notes of all of your feedback. So then in subsequent years, because I can also attest to the cumbersome nature of the process and all the assumptions that have to be made, and how it makes it so there is a lot of potential for not having supportive information for what you're applying for because you're making assumptions. And so, but aside from that, I think we have to just kind of move forward on the application you put forward today, but
Right.
know that we're acknowledging your feedback.
And that's the short of it is
Yeah, that we'll
not to interrupt you there, but that's what it boils down to. So Enigma Marketing was a marketing company that we used, and they were a fairly high-end marketing company, and I think they did some stuff for the city of Sunnyside. I know they did for the cause. Toppenish Rodeo, we spent $30,000 with them in marketing, but it broke us. and broke us. Not, we went bankrupt, but it was just too much. We didn't have enough momentum from that. So and then COVID hit and we went backwards for 2 years. There's no revenue coming in. I'm fine with the fact that here's your mathematical formula, and I'm not saying that facetiously, I'm fine with that. But when it doesn't make sense, where you've got an event or 2 or 3 events that are getting the monies and there's nothing that works. Don Day, when he was a manager, he says, you know what, John, you're the poster child for the LTAC funds. And I said, why is that? He goes, because you can prove all these things when you meet all these requirements. That didn't inflate my ego, but I'm like, well, okay, good. I think if that's the case, then everybody that's applying for these funds should meet the same requirements. And there should be a mathematical formula that says, okay, Joey Smith or George Galvan or this, they don't qualify for this much, this is all they get.
So your $30,000 request requires $750,000 in guest revenue.
I'm telling
no
you.
way your event can generate that. Your 20,000 is $500,000, there's no way. So just so you are aware of that, I know you bring in people, they stay with us.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think there's
and-
some dollars that can be attributed to you for that.
But if I can add to that, the equation that you're using is missing a component, because if we take a look at what the definition of tourism is, it isn't just only heads and beds. And I know that's the process that I've heard that term myself for many years now, but there's other elements to tourism, not just lodging. Even though these taxes that fund this committee are from lodging, so I understand your point from a regenerative point, like, if we give out this much money, we have to regenerate a certain amount of money to maintain that moving forward, but there's parts of this equation that we need to expand upon to understand all the elements of tourism and what type of revenue might be generated from events because of the activity happening.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so, but we don't have all that formulation now.
Right.
Right now, we're going off of subjective nature and, yeah, so, but.
And I agree with you, Ms. Foster, and that's why I wanna go back to tourism, that's one of my questions, that I have for you. The 3,500 people that stay there, do you collaborate with any of the businesses in Sunnyside to help bring in some of the people, maybe in the downside, maybe to Varietal?
So Varietal Beer Company is our sponsor out there for a beer garden. Again, we go to the Best Western, we go to the other motels, hotels, and let them know. We go to El Valle. El Valle is a sponsor. Cliff Septic, that's not quite the same thing, but nonetheless, Cliff Septic is still a sponsor. We go to audio equipment, LTI, every business in town that we think that could be a viable sponsor, we're knocking on their doors. You've been a sponsor out there for us. And what was cool about when you were a sponsor, we had your Sunnyside CDL and then Brandon's Yakima CDL, and you sponsored one day, they sponsored the other day. It's a friendly competition, and it also gets you the recognition, the marketing that we're trying to do. So anybody that is part of our marketing plan, we are cross-marketing that. Now, the sad thing is sometimes we don't get those sponsors because they don't have the people in place to cross-market at us. And again, the marquees in Sunnyside should all say, welcome, Washington Nitro National fans. When you go to Sturgis, South Dakota, for probably 150, 200 miles, every sign marquee says, welcome, Sturgis Riders. So you're riding along thinking, hey, let's stop at this little town and get something to eat and maybe stay here for the night. As you're a Washington Nitro National fan coming into Sunnyside, there's nothing that says welcome to Sunnyside. And prior to this current administration being Mike and Derek, I'm thinking that maybe we can open up the doors, but the city of Sunnyside did not embrace our event the way it should have been. It should have been on the website. It should have been in the marketing materials for the Yakima Tourism Board, and it wasn't. Why? I'm real puzzled. We're bringing in people. This is a national event. This is not just John Nybor's having a little event out in Sunnyside. A bunch of hillbillies are out there.
Deputy Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
John, I've been you took me up to the facility for the tour. Remind me how long the event's been going on in Sunnyside?
From 2011 in Sunnyside.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
The event.
since the 60s.
Cause I mean, I view this as a Sunnyside. event.
Yeah, since the sixties.
And I had to step out for a minute, so you're getting 6,000 people coming there?
No. You said how long? So
No, how many people come?
3,500 is our
So
rolling
30
average.
So 3,500 a year.
I think that we can increase it, but it's just with the AMA Pro Racing, I know I'm beating the dead horse there.
Yeah,
But with the AMA Pro Racing, it's going to open up the doors.
yeah, no, and I view this as a signature event, because you know, through my lens as a city manager, I think we need more signature events, like I look at who received monies last year. Rotary, AA promotions, not an event. Sunnyside Rotary Club, not an event. Miss Sunnyside Committee, American Legion, Sword for the Cause, an event. That's a signature event.
Well, the
Cinco
two,
de Mayo
sorry to
signature event.
interrupt, the two Rotary ones are signature events, Cinco de Mayo and the Light Department.
Right,
And so is Amy Rubio's, I mean, it was.
Yeah.
right,
And yeah, the community, the,
I'd like to say that
Sunshine
Sunnyside
Days.
Ale Fest is a signature event.
Good deed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, and I think we need to make this a signature event. It's I mean, it's outside the city limits, but it's bringing in people clearly from all across the country, and it's a national event that I think, you know, we could be known.
If we can pull up 2026, it'll be huge.
Well, I'm hoping that, like I say, when you're asking LTAC for 30 and you're only bringing in other sponsors up to 20, and this is a national event, that there should be some more dollars. I put on functions where I've got donations from golf clubs or golf club companies and stuff that are willing to put the money into it, that are gonna help. So if we're gonna give you $30,000 that costs how much to generate, these other places are actually going to get their money's worth from whatever you're doing. So I'm thinking they need to step up a little bit.
Again, you may have missed the point. There's not enough. I need another person to help me out. So part of this, and if I understand correctly, this $30,000 doesn't have to be, and like Sarah said, it doesn't have to be specifically for these things. This could be as much as me getting some pens and ink and staples and whatever. It includes office supplies. So it would include a media person to help me out. I don't have the same partnerships. It's not woe is me because COVID hit, but COVID hit and we lost 2 years. So now we're trying to build back up. We didn't only take in $20,000 because that's all I could get. That's all the time I had to get that money and go out and prep our property and get everything set up for the event. And we were behind the gun. We didn't start marketing until January, February. I want to start marketing now.
I was gonna ask Ben a question. Could LTAC dollars be used for, like in your case, I mean, we went up to the top of the mountain and, you know, there's rocks all over the place. Could LTAC dollars be used for infrastructure enhancement in order to promote more tourism? Cause I also look at his park as a place where you could have concerts, you could enhance the parking.
Yeah, we're now an ORV park. So
Yeah.
we just got that designation 2 years ago. So that will allow us to open up to hiking, biking, potentially concerts. And I say that just because there's a lot of moving parts. Hiking and biking and physical fitness things out there would be a good thing that we could do with the ORV park. That would be a different ask for me. This currently is just this, but
And Mr. Riley, if you could,
The infrastructure development has to relate directly to promotion of tourism.
Yeah.
And so if you can show that whatever money you're putting into your facility or something like that is designed to increase the awareness of tourism for your event for Sunnyside, then that can be a substantial.
so like me putting a billboard out in the front of the driveway and creating my entrance where it's more inviting, that would potentially draw in more people.
If it can relate back to tourism
Right.
promotion, yes.
So here's the other thing. Again, it's hard to come up with an actual number that makes sense based on the mathematical equation. But the short of it is, this is like the way I look at it, it's like an expense account. I still, just because you awarded me $30,000, I don't get the $30,000 till the event's over, and I still have to show you receipts. So there's part of me that you're battling me for nothing. At the end of the day, here's my expenses, and you go, you know what, that didn't count, you went to Bob's Drive and you spent $2,000 at Bob's Drive, and that doesn't count. I'm trying to promote our community and make it a better place and put us on the map for more than one thing. We've been put on the map for a lot of things. One was the Cinco de Mayo shooting, that when I'm knocking on doors, these guys were all about it, and they go, wait a minute, wasn't it in Sunnyside? And yeah. Backed out. Oh, I'm just saying, we're trying to do is put us on the map, and that's it.
John, you can't, government audit has requirements. What you wanna do is private industry, which is fine, you can pretty much whatever you want. But when you're dealing with funds that come through the government, you have to conform to their rules.
So do the other people that are getting the money that don't apply to the rules.
I think, well,
Let's
Yeah.
let's get back let's on track. If there's any other questions from committee members, Mr. I had on Dolan, I think we could open up later.
I just had a question to whether or not, can I, we talked about me representing and having input into his promotion, so I just wondered if that is, cause I didn't, when I was on LTAC, I didn't really learn that part of it, cause I'd never seen anybody show up for a meeting. So.
Are the presenting group?
This one, yeah,
Are you?
well, we had talked about it, but when I called him yesterday, he didn't answer.
So
Kind of a busy guy.
probably isn't on.
Pardon me?
That probably considered public comment and it's not allowed.
Okay, that's what my question is.
So let's. I'm sure, you know, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of ideas that can happen to bring some of that people back into Sunnyside. One of the ones that I thought about is, I don't know if you hand out these you know, travel guides whenever the outside people go into your property, maybe, you know, handing these
Well,
out.
we've had it all out there, yeah. We even had a newspaper stand from the Daily News when they were called the Daily News out there. But we should be in the travel guide.
Yeah, you're right.
We should be on the city of Sunnyside's website. You know what? Don't make me a signature event. I don't care about that. We're doing something for the community and we should be in there. Side note, Kids Light a Christmas Parade, we're on our 11th year. We're not in these ads. Why?
Yeah.
And to me, the Kids Light a Christmas Parade is a Norman Rockwell-ish, cute, quaint, family-oriented thing. Anything that promotes our community in a positive way should be in promotions that are done by the city as well. If we have to put money towards putting it on the city stuff, great, I'll use some of that money to put towards that. It's fairly simple.
Well, appreciate you coming by, John, and if there's no more questions.
Yes.
We can move on to the next one.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Do we know who's down there, Mike?
Yeah, we've got Sort for the Cause,
Thank you. Yeah.
Sunnyside Elk Fest,
yeah,
and then Yakima Tourism.
so, so you guys have a preference on who's next?
Like the gold, silver, the copper.
Sure, for the cause.
Oh, you did?
Before we invite next person, what is the definition of tourism?
So I was just looking at the AGO opinion.
Thanks, appreciate it.
6, so.
I don't think that sounds like silly, I know layman's term of meetings.
So sorry, it says the R study 67.
And you had a question?
My question is, can we put a time limit on the amount of time it's spending?
Because these people, these people are, I'm feeling
Yeah.
sorry for the people sitting downstairs.
We could, what are you guys thinking?
Like 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
So what you're looking at here under our 67, 28, 18, 15 is activities and expenditures designed to increase tourism, including but not limited to advertising, publicizing, or otherwise distributing information for the purposes of attracting and welcoming tourists, developing strategy to expand tourism, operating tourism promotion agencies, and funding marketing of special events and festivals designed to attract tourists.
Okay.
those are activities. It's not, that doesn't answer your question, tourism per se.
No,
That's tourism promotion,
Um,
under the definition.
how about, here's a simple definition. People who come and enjoy the legal services and leave them.
That would fall under the definition in a more, I guess, contrite way, but it would be included under 67. So.
well, I just know, at least in my experience as an end user or a recipient of these funds, is we've had multiple agreements that have different scopes of what is allowable expenditures. And so part of the and feel free to stop me if I'm not supposed to share any of this, but part of the reason we didn't submit for the Lead Farm Implement Parade as a request for proposals in 2025 is because I don't fully understand all the allowable expenses until after we complete our
We've
event
got a
this year.
couple of people, so.
And so, once we complete it, then we'll have more understanding of what's eligible. But- So that's why I'm asking these questions.
We got a couple, so. I'm sorry. No, here. We're just gonna rotate. Okay, I'll grab a chair. Where would you like this?
A couple chairs here.
Yeah, we got a couple chairs. We're just gonna.
That's fine, you don't need to think.
Thank you.
You know, I'll move next to Sierra. Sure. Yeah, let me just move my stuff. Stay a little. Musical chair or something.
Thank you. Welcome, and as a committee, we decided to, I guess, set some sort of limits to the presentation, so we're gonna give it a shot, 15 minutes, and see what we can plan.
That's fine, I haven't opened it yet.
Okay, hi, first of all, we want to say thank you for your donations in the past for supporting us in what we've done. Last year you gave us $2,500. My name is Tom Cullen and
I'm Sharon Stewart.
and What Sort for the Cause is a nonprofit organization that is run strictly by volunteers. And the purpose and the goal of this event is to raise money for local charity. It is a 2-person timed competition, and it sorts cattle from one pen to another. And it's the ranch sorting benefit fundraiser. This is our 14th year doing it. We usually have about 200 participants, competitors. That doesn't include people coming in to watch the event as well. We have people coming from Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Canada, so throughout the Pacific Northwest that comes in to this event. Over the years that we've done this, we have raised $831,000 for the local charities, and I mean local because it is Children's Wishes and Dreams, Wellness House, and Heartlink, which is the hospice palliative care. And last year, we were able to give them each $25,000. So this 3-day event has raised that much money in order to do it. In this event, we use local businesses to put it on because it is right here in Sunnyside at Spec Arena. So we use the hotels. We alone get 14 rooms as far in the hotels for our out of town volunteers that we provide for them. But there's also the participants that come in. They get rooms and stuff. Those are things we just don't know how many actually get rooms because we do have a dry camping area that a lot of the participants do because, you got your horse trailer, you got all that kind of stuff. Let's be realistic. But everyone uses the local restaurants and the local businesses. I mean, they're always going to the grocery stores. Gas stations are really beneficial because those rigs take up the gas and when you're traveling. So we are strongly use local Sunnyside businesses. We believe in local. We believe in keeping it in the area. We also encourage in the event that, go to the Sunnyside, go downtown if you got free time, do the shopping areas and that. And that's encouraged throughout the thing. So last year with your sponsorship of the 25,000, and this year we're asking for a 10. And the main reason is for publicity, for our advertising budget. We want to get it out and get it more known. We want to become a major event. We want to just bring a lot of people into this. And we use social medias, we use the newspaper, TV ads, brochures, posters, and all this, and we want to flood with this to keep it there. And as a sponsor last year, Sunnyside's right in all our brochures, and that we put out, it's in all of our advertisings, everything we do. Thank you to contributors, and it says Diamond Sponsors, City of Sunnyside. We have signs at the event that show City Sunnyside as a sponsor. We announce it during the event. Throughout we announce all our sponsors that we do, and so we want to put out the city and let them know that this is a pretty dang good place, and we want to bring people into it. And in 2022, we raised 120,000. And in 23, we raised 96. Last year, we raised 75. We want to see that go up. We want to make more.
What's it been? How come you're?
Well, it started right after COVID, and we had in 22, we had a very large sponsor that came in that had used the charities and felt the need to give it back, and they did it through us. So that was the reason that one was so high. But the downfall is economy, is plain and simple, and we need to get that advertisement back out that we need to get more people in town, more people coming from around. And through your sponsorship is a direct dollar into what we can contribute. But if we spent $36,000 last year on this event. And that is the awards for the money that we gave to the competitors, for competing. And so out of that 36,000, we were able to raise 75. That's a pretty good rate of return. And we're hoping with the additional dollars we can get so we can increase our advertising budgets and all that, we can make that even more. So it's not dollar for dollar that goes into these charities. It is dollar plus, double almost, if we can make it all work. And this is run strictly by volunteers. There's nobody that gets paid there. We do pay our judges and our announcers and that, but other than that, it's all volunteer based. And this is a great opportunity and promotion for Sunnyside. Sunnyside sponsors this event that gives this much money to charities that are local charities, and the money stays local. It's all building up that feeling, heartwarming feeling that Sunnyside cares, and by doing this, it's a great promotional opportunity. I do this because I've had family members, and I've used hospice with parents and siblings and spouse. These charities rely on a lot of our dollars. I mean, if you go into the children's wishes and dreams and say, oh, we can't give you the 25 this year, or the amount, that's a big cut on what they can do. And so we're just asking for the city for this money to help build it. It's not like just donating money. We're going to build that money to make it even more. And so you got a direct impact on the citizens of this community that use these charities. I mean, it is a direct dollar impact on what we're able to do for it. So
Thank you. Thank you
that's
for
my
that.
spiel.
Any questions from the committee?
Have you looked at, I know your event had been successful.
Mhm.
I know, just going back, there was a point in time where we had quite a few people sitting with us and it actually used just to drag kids to be more popular.
Mhm.
And I get it, you got the horse, you got all that back and everything. I understand it. Have you looked at ways to expand the event? I hate to say this, but a little bit of an entertainment factor to bring in more people. One of the things that was suggested was a little kids rodeo, mutton busting. Well, people like that.
No, it's true. You're very correct. And I would put it to the board. I am not on the board personally. The time that we have there, it starts early morning to mid-evening. This competitions are going constantly. I think we need to have maybe some entertainment. I agree with you. That sounds like and build in on it.
A bit.
No, it's not gonna hurt it, that's for sure. Yeah, and I couldn't, with the dry camping, it does take away from the hotels bit, but there's also their families and friends that come. And even people in Yakima and all that, they stay down here. They don't run home every night. They come down and they stay. So that 50-mile radius or whatever it is, for us, everybody that participates stays right here.
I think you've done a good job of leveraging your sponsors. You're showing that you expect about $30,000 in sponsorship.
Yes. Is that
Who
right?
are your sponsors?
So it's Dan and Sue Martinez, our sponsors, Horse Heaven Cattle Feeders, our sponsors, of course, the city of Sunnyside, Flying Flowers Ranch, Spec Motors, Van Horn Farms, Nobody's Dairy. I'm a sponsor, Heritage Bank.
Have you hit up the restaurants and the gas stations?
For sponsorships, what we hit them up for are for silent auction items. And so a lot of these things that are auctioned off that we do are items that we go to Ace Hardware. We go to the gas stations, we go to car washes, we go to coffee shops around here to get them to donate for the silent auction.
Good.
And your revenue from that appears to be $20,000.
Yeah, right, I think it's whatever they have on that sheet is what that
So
was.
basically, that could be kind of considered sponsorship too, so.
That is correct, and that is
$50,000.
that is done directly from businesses here in Sunnyside and around the area throughout the Yakima Valley.
I'm showing 30.
But down here under live silent auctions, the net cash revenue, there's a $20,000.
I think.
But that's the profits they make from the silent auction, so it's actually the,
Right.
And every item in that silent auction is a donated.
oh, okay.
It's there is no dollars.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have food vendors there, right?
We have a food truck that comes in that does the lunches. And that people can do. People go all off-site as well. And then we have a coffee shop that comes in and sets up a coffee stand. So that as far as food vendors, that's really the only two that we have for vendors.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, just going back to the lodging briefly, so you wrote in the application that you kind of expect 100 people from the 50+ mile radius. Of that 100 people, you expect 30 nights. The 70 nights of unpaid, is that your dry camping?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Well, if there's no more questions, we'll move on to the next one. I appreciate for
Well, thanks for the opportunity, you guys. We appreciate it. We appreciate your sponsorship and we'll leave that with you. This is our for the coming up.
Okay.
Thank you. I went last year. And bought auction items.
I mean, you, unfortunately. Thanks a lot.
Go ahead.
Get the Ale Fest next.
Yeah.
Just to follow up on, the point I was trying to make is I think in our agreements, once we identify what people are receiving what funds, we need to clarify the scope of what funds can be utilized for.
Correct.
That's all that I'm, I guess, trying to ask, because that's the part that's been the most
They leave us
difficult.
subjective to a certain point as far as that, unfortunately. Where this is coming into play, I was finding where this is litigated out. For instance, if someone grabs money from LTAC and use it to purchase office equipment like computers, record keeping services. If it's not designated purely for tourism promotion, but also used to balance their office books. Does that something money has to be returned in the situation, or does it actually fall in the LTAC definition? They're saying if it's actually used for tourism purposes, even if it's only part-time, it can be considered appropriate use and allocation for LTAC funds. So
This is pretty loose.
Yeah.
it is, and they keep it that way.
Yeah.
The only thing you can't do is get the money ahead of time. So.
Performance.
Right. Apparently they used to do that.
Well, would you be able to do it as you go?
No, it has to be after the event.
After the event, okay.
It has to be on.
Well, I mean, you can still do it as you go and audit it as you go though too. Like you can still provide receipts immediately after you spend it,
Spend it.
but what we have it defined as it has to be after the event. Is completed, meaning like if you spent, they already have this created for 2025. Imagine the case. So maybe it's a different.
That's the hot seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Got you covered.
Exactly.
And
Twice in a week.
is this Ron? Yep, Ron Fox. You're welcome, Ron, and we'll give you 15 minutes to present and you got the floor.
Which I was supposed to present. Okay, I gotta wing it.
Yeah.
I'm representing the Sunnyside Ale Fest. We've been hosting, this will be year 9. Started. I'm with Daybreak Rotary, by the way. The Ale Fest was originally established to promote and establish some youth activities. There was a lot of concern from some of the individuals that we didn't have enough activities, particularly for the youth, give them something to do other than roam the streets, whatever. Went from there to major project was building the skate park at the central place. The Ale Fest itself and the money that we generated over the years to build the skate park comes from sponsors. None of the money that comes from sponsors, it's all donated to the project. The Ale Fest itself generates very little that it had in the beginning. We were able to use the money from the Ale Fest itself to bring up the next one. Sometimes we've had to kick in some of our club money to make ends meet. But it's never been the purpose of the Ale Fest itself to make a lot of money. It's from the sponsors that we've actually generated enough money to build a $350,000 skate park, which is pretty good for a 20-member club or less. And COVID didn't do us any good.
Didn't do any of us any good.
That was a pretty big hit. To date, and since the formation of the Ale Fest, we're experiencing a lot of competition from specific events.
And last year, our event was the same day as the Prosser event. Their music, what do they call it?
Brews, beer, or like barbecue brews and
Something like
And
that,
music,
yeah,
yeah.
blues.
blues.
Blues, yes. And Yakima has an ale fest that is before ours. And we're starting to draw more people from that particular event than we have in the past. But last year, there was a lot of draw. The economics of the community, being agriculture, was impacted pretty heavily, and that impacted our event. In the beginning, and up until now, our advertising is basically word of mouth. We haven't been spending money on advertising other than a few posters, and we get posters that we put out at the various breweries that attend our event. And the breweries that were attending the event we're drawing from basically the Yakima Valley. As far away as we go has been Cle Elum. But that helps bring in a lot of their customers that we're not able to track very well. But we talked to the brewers because they pour their own beer. And they say, oh, I saw Joe and Marley, or that they're verifying that there's some people coming from their communities to be at the event. And the lack of advertising has really impacted us a lot. So this year we're going to hire a media person because we're trying to communicate with, first of all, our Rotary Club average age is probably 65 or more. And I'm a marketing major from college, but my training in marketing is useless today. It's all social media. And so we're going to hire a social media person because we've got to get that attendance up and we've got to get the word out to a larger event. This year, we're also planning on trying to partner with a couple of the motels so that we can offer some kind of incentive to get more heads and beds. We don't know how many people are in the heads and beds. And so we're trying to promote that part so that we can maybe get some additional attendance and more people to stay overnight. I'm sure there's people staying overnight that we just don't have a count. And I've not talked to any of the motel owners to, ask them, are you getting some business from people that are staying for the event? I'll keep quiet now, and if you have questions, I might be able to respond a little better.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Committee members, any questions?
Can you just Reader's Digest version describe the event, period of time, when it starts at this time, ends at this time, what's involved?
Okay, it's first Saturday after Father's Day. It's from 5 to 10. We generally have anywhere from 8 to 10 breweries. We usually offer maybe so you can get a wine, and we've had some ciders, usually 1 or 2 of each, poured at the same station. So you get two different wines and 2 different, we have 6 to 8 food vendors.
Good.
And all of and it's a fenced in area. Security is provided by Phoenix Security Company. And we've never really had any issues at all, as far as I know. Over the last 8 years, any issues. I've never really witnessed, and I'm at all of the events. In one form or another, doing my job. The entire event up until now has always been put on by our club membership. And we do hire, we hired the wrestling club from the high school to set up our chairs and stuff, and paid them $500 just to, try to employ some youth. And give them something to do, and we can spread a little bit more money around. Fencing and all of that kind of stuff, and rent tents and.
My second question, you probably don't know this, but your event does conflict with one of the AA basketball weekends. I said your event does conflict with one of the AA basketball weekends.
No,
The only place that you might run into a conflict there is if you bring in a ton of people who want to stay in hotels, and they bring in a ton of people who want to stay in hotels. There aren't enough hotel rooms. That's the issue with conflicting events. I don't think it's a problem, I'm just pointing that
Yeah.
out.
I wasn't aware.
Okay.
One thing that I noticed in it, and this is kind of getting into the weeds, but the professional services for this this event is $6,800. What are your professional services?
That's our media specialist,
Okay,
which we've not had before.
oh, okay.
And
No, I was just gonna say, to your point, though, if you're trying to collaborate with having something for the youth to participate in, that this is an adult focused event, obviously. And so the conflict that you're presenting might still be a beneficial opportunity for the two organizations to work collaboratively and promote that weekend of things.
Depending on how it's fun, yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I hope that we run out of hotel rooms.
I
That'd
love
be a
it.
great problem to have.
I love it.
so, Mr. Fox,
Parents like your-
Yeah, that's what I mean, like it gives them something to do after a stressful long day.
Mr. Fox, so this is your first year applying for LTEC, correct?
We originally applied for and got, I think it was year one, like $2,500. That was 16. Don't ask me, I think it was on the application, but I don't have my application in front of me.
And I like that idea that, collaborate with the hotels and see what you could do there. I don't know if I saw it on the application or maybe one of your members mentioned it, something about even having a shuttle bus
Yeah, that
from the
was
hotel to the,
maybe a hotel special, and we wanted a shuttle bus for people that didn't want to drive after maybe having a couple of beers or whatever. We were originally, it's suggested that we have Best Western and Sunnyside Bed and Breakfast. In the past, Sunnyside Bed and Breakfast, we've had music in the past too, except for last year. We think that also hurt us because we were trying to make sure we could generate enough funds, and then all of a sudden, I think that was impacted, and so we're going back to that. And Sunnyside Bed and Breakfast, the music was coming from a distance, and they were actually giving us, donating the rooms for them, and we had to pay for everything else.
May I ask, is there a reason that you didn't apply for LTAC funds in subsequent years? And what changed now to apply for it this year?
No, well, we didn't think we needed it in the past because we were, covering it, and we weren't trying to make money on it, but we were making enough to put it on. Now we're not. And we need to broaden our advertising part of it. And I was going to apply for it last year, or at least I had suggested it. I wasn't president then. But I was on the committee, and when we suggested it, it was already too late to apply. Otherwise, we would have applied last year too. And we might have gotten started with our getting into the social media and some advertising Because we're not advertising on the radio, we're not doing anything on TV, we could afford that. You know, and print media, we're in Yakima Travel a little bit, but that's just kind of a blurb. So we're not really doing advertising per se, and we need to get more of that out there. And that's why we don't even know how much advertising we can do with what we're trying to propose for.
Yeah.
But if we can get something, we can get started and see if we can do something with that. And how much do we actually need? And we need to, you know, get the, we want to increase that attendance. One, to promote the event, but two, it also promotes the city and accomplishes additional hotel, but it's advertising and publicity for Sunnyside. I think we accomplished some of the purposes of health and fun.
Well, I really believe in this event. I really like this event. I think you have potential to grow this event a lot bigger, and hopefully it does. Hopefully it gets this big, you know, where you know, it might be even shutting down a few streets, right? Because overflow people. So that.
Well, we've actually talked about maybe the additional need to expand the site. Currently, we're using the Centennial Square, and then the port's little lot next door. And once we get, if we get 1,000 people, and actually maybe even 750, which we've been at until last year, we were thinking about we might need to expand it and then take in the street and across from Brewing. And I can't remember which street that is, the one that goes by the park.
It's
Yeah. And that way we could move the beer tents and the vendors, food vendors, into the street, and that would expand it. So that might allow us to contain 1,000 people. Or if we expand it into more utilization of Centennial Square, because we've just been using the gazebo for the band to be in. And if we move more of the people into that area, we might be able to expand the number of people without moving into the street. So we do have some ways to make it a little bigger, but if we get over 1,000,
You have an issue with controlled access.
yeah.
well, committee. If there's no further questions, I want to thank Mr. Fox for being here, and thank you.
Well, thank you for considering our proposal. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who do we want up next?
So the one thing, the Pixel Soft is online, but we had talked about, they got the application in late, so how we deal with that. Because it was messaged incorrectly that we were expanding the time that these things could be put in. So that is a question that they have for us is, you know, how do we deal with that? And something that George and I have talked about. It doesn't look like anyone specifically put in for implement next year.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility for them to reapply, or
They can reapply, yeah.
or could the group make a motion to continue with them as part of the application?
If they
process?
missed the actual deadline for submittal of the application, and that deadline was published, which I think it was, then you can't consider it for this year. They can reapply.
So can, is for like this one, the Pixel Soft that submitted late, can there be, after deliberation of the ones that have submitted on time, can there be a reopening of applications and you reopen it for whomever. not
You have
just-
to reopen it to the general public with
Yeah.
an extended deadline for submittal, if we chose to do that. And if you have an excess of funds that are available, you can.
Cause something I was gonna ask about is, the budget that was established for 2025 takes into consideration the estimated revenue that will be generated in 2025, right?
Right.
But does it take into consideration any of the funds that weren't used in subsequent years?
And that, I'm glad you asked us here, so we have, right now, the overall fund balance is 380,757. And that is taking into account. I mean, quite frankly, a ridiculous notion that we're saving for a convention center.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take us till the year 3,556 to actually get to that point.
But that number also takes into account if all of these submitted for the full amount that they were approved for.
No, and I don't think I think it's just the overall fund balance, because I think if you even account for, like, let's say.
But is it fund balance less the 2024 events that aren't all completed?
So my understanding is that it is. So the 157, which is current. Which is,
Restricted.
the restricted convention center, so current fund balance. And we would have to take into account, so we're budgeted for 143, 300 for 25. So obviously, we'd have to take that into consideration for this bucket. But right now. And I will have to clarify what has been actually received out of, or
That's what
received.
that's what I was gonna ask you, is there a way that we could get those numbers on that? Cause I think Gain Promotions didn't submit for the full 10,000. So say that if they submitted for 6,000, so we would still have 4,000 available.
Right, yeah,
for that.
you'd have that leftover funding.
So is there a way to get a report today to see what
Let me
has been paid out?
ask real quick, because.
But the 2024 year is not done.
Correct.
You really could only look at, cause we didn't set the parameters of needing the 60-day return until this year, 2024. So, but you could say 2023 is fully closed.
Yeah.
And I know in 2023, Rotary, we didn't submit documentation to receive our entire award amount in 2023. In 2024, we plan to, so that's why it's hard, you can't look at 2024, 2023, so the fiscal year completely closed of all awards. That would have also been reimbursed, so you would potentially have remaining balances from 2023 in one of these numbers. And I'm just trying to understand if it's in that number, or if that's held in a separate bucket and the financial reporting still classified as 2023 awarded recipients, even though now they'll never access it though, because those events are well past.
But it kind of give us an idea of, the events that were already passed, right, like the Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, you can
Sunshine
look at
Fest.
all those.
So we could see okay, what have they submitted for reimbursement and versus the program, so the events that haven't passed, like the.
I think it's only the lighted parade that hasn't
Parade, yeah.
passed. So you could, yeah, you're right, you could get a lot, except if whomever's receiving the audited financials of all the information, if there's still pending discussions happening for any of these groups.
So you're trying to ascertain the amount of funds that are obligated but not spent.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, cause you don't want to then spend that erroneously. Yeah.
Does that all the time.
No, we wanna make sure that that's still put aside, but that's why I'm asking about that. If we go through all of the applications that were submitted timely, and that would be my recommendation, that we don't look at the application that wasn't submitted timely. Cause if there was an extension and we didn't communicate it to all
it was,
the public,
it was just.
then I would say it
Yeah.
shouldn't, that's my position.
Your code isn't restricted, and and there's no specifics in RCWs regarding how you would do that. But for due process purposes, how it play on the common law is if you're going to offer this second round.
Offer to everybody.
Yeah, I think
offer to
that's what
everybody,
we should.
notice.
So for now, I think we should only review the ones that submitted timely, and then if we go through our deliberations and identify that there's a certain amount of funds remaining, we could consider a motion to reopen the application period with a new deadline, and Pixelsoft then could submit their requests at that time.
So you're saying Pixel Top is not in compliance? with
Yeah,
that?
they, I wrote it down, they
It's good, it
submitted
takes
it.
their English and English.
Oh, they
Well,
wrote
right
it.
after the
That's the
deadline.
thing, I don't want it to become controversial because they've got.
It,
And I talked to them about the
Up to them,
situation,
Tom.
they're super amenable to
so,
going
yeah, I
through
wrote
the
it
process
down,
Because
the
the
right way.
deadline was this and they submitted it
the 24th.
24th, yeah.
And would it be okay to communicate to them, because they're online? And I've talked to them a little bit about the likelihood of what would transpire. And they've worked with jurisdictions and they've worked with Prosser for many years, so they understand the government process, so they're certainly not trying to get around anything. So,
Well, that was my position, I mean, are you
Yeah.
agreeable to only review the submissions that were submitted on time?
Yeah, I can agree with that. We should review the ones that were submitted on time today and then
I would say,
discuss, yeah.
I like the way you said it today, but I think if somebody submits something that has value, we should review it, should consider it, we should, if it makes sense, recommend it to the city council. That's just.
Could we, again, this is getting to that future state, but could we do like a rolling submission? Does it have to have an end date?
It does, because you have to understand what your balance is to provide for these actual requests, which is why the state requires that for audit purposes.
Okay. So that's, but the end date could be the end of the year,
It's whatever application deadline you choose to
Or
set.
it could be-
Situation.
I've seen other
Like
cities
8
where they don't
years.
have a deadline, they kind of.
like a rolling.
Yeah, like a rolling thing, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you don't know what kind of budget, you know, and.
Well, for state audit purposes, I understand this is all subject to review by the state for how it was expended, so. I didn't work for those cities that did that, but they have an end date for submission, so they have a date they can check to make sure funds were available, were allocated at the time, and whether they were actually all tech funds or not. So. There may be an ability to do the rolling submission thing, practically speaking, you don't do that because of the state audit possibility.
So that's why I don't think we would be able to just look at one-offs as they come in, because we would have to open an application period again. Is what I'm understanding you're saying, right?
And if you're opening up to the general public, you need a deadline for submission for that.
Yeah. So I think we'll go through this and see even how much money we move around, suggest, recommend to city council, and then.
So should
can we
we,
explain to them what's going on, just so they have clarity?
do you know,
And,
you know which one it is? Do we have somebody from Pixel Films? They can raise their hand.
Hello, hi. This is Stephanie and Gary.
Hi, Stephanie. You represent Pixie Films?
Pixel.
Pixel Soft Films, yes.
Okay, well, it appears that your application was submitted after the deadline of August 30th. I think after further review with the committee, and we now agreed to make it fair for everybody. I think we're gonna not review this one today. There's a possibility that, you know, we could reopen it for the public and give that deadline. And then, you know, you're more than welcome to reapply for those funds, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I appreciate you being here. I guess we should have discussed that. at the beginning.
Yeah, I know, and it was one of those things it got buried in there, and I figured once we got to it, we could. And I think I was just surmising that maybe they wanted to just kind of, it's a public meeting to see.
See the process.
Yeah, and we'd eventually get to them and explain what the situation.
Okay,
So, okay, yeah, that
Thank you.
makes total sense.
Hi.
And one thing I wanted to clarify, or at least ask the question, everybody's walking in here like, oh my God, I have to present. Have they never presented in the past? Okay, cause I, you know, and I looked back at my email and I said, hey, this is happening this date, and if you have any questions, call me. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing it, cause I'll take full responsibility. I certainly did not tell everybody they had to present, but it was always my perception being I've been a part of these in Pasco, and everybody presented, so okay, makes me feel better.
yeah.
Because we've had a few people like, oh my goodness.
So who do we have left? Did the basketball come?
Oh,
answer,
yes,
or-
you know, I called him, he is a teacher,
Oh.
and he said for me to call him when. But he's not certain if he can actually answer the phone. But what he told me to communicate was, you know, thank you for the support in the past. He's very familiar with the process and he, you know, he was certain we were familiar with his brand. But yeah, he apologized, he couldn't hear, but he appreciated the support in the past. And he told me to give him a call and if the committee's amenable to him being on by phone, if that's okay, Ben.
Yeah. But it's up to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
you
said,
could give them.
yeah,
Should we deal with, what we team this year?
oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna-
Yeah.
Sure,
So let's get away with T here.
good point.
Was she on the, I thought I seen a car outside.
No, yeah, she's here.
Oh, she got
Let me
serious?
She's, yeah, I thought I seen her.
It looks like she's online too.
Yeah, and there is somebody online from them as well.
Well.
Look like you're ready for president.
Yeah.
It comes back.
That's.
Hello.
Hello.
Great.
It's warm in here.
Yeah, that's why we're keeping the door open.
Hello. So I was gonna, I brought
Thank you,
a
thank you.
few things for show and tell.
You're Stephanie?
I'm Stephanie Gangle. I'm with Yakima Valley Tourism.
Welcome.
Yeah. Everybody have one? Yeah. Two.
Well, welcome Stephanie.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you
take
very much for your
you
time.
and,
Hello.
give you 15, look like about 15, 20 minutes, presentation.
Okay, perfect. So in the first page after the cover letter, our budget is itemized to let you know the proposed activities. So the first thing, which is behind the marketing materials, it's the Tourism Ambassador Program. So this is something that we learned about many years ago, and it's quite an expensive venture, but it's definitely one that's certainly necessary. And it's a training program where people can get a certification, but it incorporates workforce development and hospitality training, but then also destination education. So we're asking for $500 if that's something that you guys would be amenable to. We're trying to keep the program, well, for the first year, it's definitely going to be for free for anybody in every city that we represent, that we represent to participate in this. And so it'll be a curriculum of destination activities and attributes with imagery and information to help them learn about what Yakima Valley has to offer to the visitors. But then also it'll help them to have a better understanding of how to communicate with the traveler, things to say, things not to say, you know, ways to present it. And then subsequent years after that, once they've received their certification, we're trying to keep a nominal fee of $10 to $15 per person to recertify. So they'll get their PIN, they'll have the CTA, Certified Tourism Ambassador designation that they can put on their, excuse me, I have a dry cough today, designation on their,
Some water.
oh, I have some,
Oh,
right here, thank you, yeah. That they could put on their business cards, the signatures on their emails and that kind of a thing. I'm very excited about it. I would love for our sense of place and the value that we all have for our communities to be better improved, and then that can be conveyed to the people that come to town and visit us. Yakima Valley Tourism is a destination marketing organization that you have contracted with for a number of years to provide destination marketing for Sunnyside. So one of the things that we do is we produce your Sunnyside travel guide. We do photo shoots throughout the year. We also utilize photography that we might glean from our own visits to the activities that take place.
We work with city staff to develop the guide, so the information that is provided is in collaboration with city staff. We also have a 2-page ad that it's an editorial ad in our own travel guide about Sunnyside. And that's another thing that we've worked with you guys to produce each year. We've also placed advertising in key periodicals that we feel are of a good draw for Sunnyside. So on the print advertising that you see on the front of the packet, we have our Northwest Travel and Life. And here are a couple of things that we did for you. Online circulation and impressions is 300,000. The print on it is 450,000. So we did an ad in the March-April issue for Cinco de Mayo. And then in the upcoming November-December issue, we have the lighted parade. And I talked to Victoria this morning when we were sitting downstairs together, got some information from her because we're starting the promotions right now for the implement parade. So we're going to work on the rest of those details. The information is shared on our website. It's on the Come to the Sun website, which is an asset that we developed and we maintain with city staff collaboration as well. Step Northwest, their best of issue in the spring, we promoted the Sunnyside Summer Ale Fest with that. We did a newsletter that went to 21,000 subscribers, and then their print is 40,000 subscribers for that. We also for Cinco de Mayo, we did through MailChimp, we did a targeted newsletter for that. And the impressions for that were 28,495. And then the e-blast link clicks were 249. If you go to the next page, you'll see the social media and the digital advertising that we do for you guys. And year to date for the social media, we've gleaned 164,524 impressions for Sunnyside year to date. And with the lighted parade promotion starting, that number will grow.
What page are you on this one?
On the second page, yeah. And you'll see we, so our person on staff, his name is Daniel. He has worked with city staff to create the branding for Sunnyside. And then it carries forward with everything that we do. And then we work with staff and the people that are putting on the events for you. So like for Cinco and the Ale Fest and whatnot. So you'll see for Buddy Day, there was an image created, the car show, all these different supporting promotions for the entire event. If you go to the next page, there's social media images here. They're still in process of being worked on. So as we get closer to the event, they'll be finalized and then they will be put out there for everyone to see. And then on the page after that, the Sunnyside Travel Guide. So that, again, that's something that we work with city staff to produce. We use our relationship with Abbott's Printing in Yakima to get the best rate possible for the print of that. We do 40,000. It's also available on the website. We also utilize our relationship with Certified Folder Distribution to distribute 35,000 copies of your print version to key visitor outlets. And so we go to Seattle and the east side, we go over to Portland and then we go down to Boise. And you'll see that the distribution amounts there, the 15 to Seattle, the 15 to Portland, and then the 5,000 to Boise, with the other 5,000 coming to the city for us to have copies of it, for you guys to have copies and put them in the local businesses. So back to the budget, we've got the $500 for the Certified Tourism Ambassador Program, if that's something that you guys think would be important for Sunnyside businesses, police department, fire department, medical staff, anybody at the city, anyone that you think would benefit from that. So there's that amount in there. The domains and hosting fees, that's for the website for Come to the Sun. The social media campaigns for the 1,500, or is that the media relations. So the media relations, that's the the PR and the communications effort of our staffer named Adam. So in the packet that I submitted to you, there's an article that was as a result of those efforts that you would, well, maybe I didn't put in there because it was past the it was more than the number of pages I was allowed. But there was, I can send that to you guys if you'd like to see it. There was a really great article that was written and it had a really huge circulation. And I neglected to bring that today, so I apologize for that. But if it's something that you guys want to do, we'll continue the media relations. And that's our efforts to interact with travel writers, journalists. We get the information and imagery, other content in front of these people and entice them to come to Sunnyside. And then those people do everything that a tourist can do. And so when they stay at a hotel, if they go out, if we take them out to eat, if they do wine tasting, if they do beer tasting, the businesses get that money back because we do pay for that. We do ask the hotel if they'd be so kind to offer an industry rate, but that they do get some of that money back. The next thing after the Northwest Travel and Life, we have the photography. And something that we've struggled with is getting quality images. And a couple of years ago, city staff asked us to work with Andrew Hamill, and we've been trying to work with him. And so unfortunately, that is something that we have not been able to do this year, except for Cinco. We were able to do Cinco with him, but we have not been able to get him any other way to help with stuff. So Jacqueline helped us to get phone numbers and email addresses. I think she even emailed him a couple of times. So there is going to be a savings in the 24 budget for that. But if you're okay with us using one of our photographers, then we could get our photographers over here to get better imagery. If that's something that you guys would like to go move forward with. The next item on there, the social media advertising, that is 3 targeted campaigns for Cinco, AleFest, and the Light of Parade. And those are, it's not off of Sunnyside's Facebook page or social media channels, and it's not off of Yakima Valley's. It's just done strictly through Facebook, and then it goes out to the different audiences that we pay for it to go to. The next item is the Sunnyside Travel Guide distribution. So that's the certified folder distribution. And then the breakdown is below of the 481 locations. Then the print and delivery. So what that is Abbott will print the guides and then they will have them delivered to the warehouses in Seattle, Portland, and down into Boise. Visitor services, this is something new that we're asking for with increased visits to our visitor information center in Yakima, which is kind of like the first stop for people that are coming through. Some supplemental help there to keep the building operating. The Yakima Valley area map, that's the second folded piece that I gave to you guys here. So if you, it's a fold out full color map. This is also printed through Abbott's. And you'll see that Sunnyside is represented in here. With dates, and then there's or event dates, and then there's also a grid for the city of Sunnyside for people for wayfinding, and that's a featured community. I wouldn't say it's an ad, but it's just a featured community part of our map that is complimentary to you. And then the last thing is the Yakima Valley Travel Guide, which is that big, beautiful magazine that we produce each year. And this magazine is produced, it's designed in-house and then it's printed with a large print company. We have a relationship with Journal Graphics in Portland, and we do 120,000 copies. 20,000 copies are being polybagged with 425 magazines. And there's we're the 20,000 that we're targeting are East King County, high income and travel ready residents who through research we know are coming to the Yakima Valley. 20,000 copies will come to us in Yakima for us to distribute to local businesses, wineries, key visitor points around our area. And then the other 80,000 is going to go to certified folder distribution, who goes all over the state, down into Oregon, over into Idaho. And then we do some test runs down in California and Texas. And which we found out that we had people that drove up from Texas, stayed with some friends in Portland, and then came over here and visited the valley for a couple, or for a week, a couple weekends, and then the week in September. So that was really exciting to know. So hopefully that was part of the outreach. The next thing below that is the management fee. So all of these things up above that we do, there you have dedicated staff that are going to be doing that work on your behalf. So myself and Katie, who is our front desk manager, all of the events, she scours Facebook pages and websites, and she makes sure that all of the events are on our event calendar, which then by them being in Sunnyside, they go onto the Come to the Sun website as well. My time to help coordinate and collaborate, our marketing manager, our graphics and web developer, and then our visitor services staff. And so placing the ads in SIP and Northwest Travel, coordinating with getting the print and distribution of your guide, coordinating the content for your editorial page and our travel guide. So that's all part of that 34,000. And then something that we drop in here each year is a reserve for media buys. So into 2025, sometimes with the relationships that we have with the different magazines, they might come to us and say, hey, we have what's called a remnant buy. We have, a half page, or we have a quarter page, or sometimes even a full page, and we need to get it sold. And you guys want it for a discount. And so that's what that 5,000 optional reserve is always put in there for. If that's something that you guys are interested in, if we can get a really good deal somewhere, then we would utilize those funds for that. And that, in a nutshell, is my presentation. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember any questions? I had a couple questions.
sure.
The media relations, that's press kits and that sort of thing. Basically, you're trying to get travel writers and bloggers and so on to come, and we prime the pump by feeding them and hosting them,
Yes.
and then they spit out something that's good
Yes.
for the community.
And so what that does is that helps to get them here, and it helps us to then turn around and pay for them to stay at the hotels, and the dinner and stuff like that.
How many of those have you actually run through Sunnyside in the last year?
Through, I should have brought, Adam Stewart, who's our communications and media person, he has several different listening and record or different applications that he can go to where he can find. So he might find anybody from, this most recent one was somebody from, I think it was called Hop Country. It just depends on who is submitting the request for information to us, and then who he might see as an opportunity to pitch to. And they vary. It could be anybody from anywhere. The biggest one we had a huge thing from Yahoo online that picked up something that he did, and it just kind of spiders out, and it branches out to different things. So it's hard to pinpoint. But when they actually come here, that's what we have. And they came here, and I had the article, and I left it on my desk, but it was a really, really great article and I can send that to you if you'd like to see that one.
So you're saying there was at least one last year?
There was at least one, yeah, and it was in 2024, yeah. And it was big, so it was really great to have them.
The other question I had was, this may be difficult for you to do, but can you extricate out of that $34,000 management fee what is associated with the website itself? I mean, it's updates.
Yes, and so that's primarily going to be Daniel, who's our graphics and web developer. And so anytime that, it would be hard, but I would say that the bulk of the 34,000 is going to be Jennifer, who is our marketing manager, and Daniel, our graphics and web developer. It's going to be their time. Once the travel guides are done, my time is done. Katie will go throughout the year and do all of the event submissions to the websites. And then she'll print those calendars, and we distribute them to the visitor centers, the chambers, and to the hotels. So there's her time that's ongoing, but Jennifer and Daniel definitely with the social media advertising, and then the print and the digital advertising that they do. And then Daniel's time, anytime for AleFest or for the Farm Implement Parade, and for Cinco, any of the little things that he's going to create for the posters and the entertainer ads and things like that. So his time is ongoing. So I would say his is probably at least more than half, maybe 60 to 70% of that, amount.
The asset creation, does Sunnyside own those assets?
Yakin Valley Tourism does. We created them for you on your behalf.
So basically license them to us. Give them
We,
To us or whatever, but they're not something that Sunnyside can say, can we get all the assets?
No,
No.
and I think that's been a conversation based on, you know, the maintenance of the website.
yeah,
You know, so there's been some conversations I've walked into like, in terms of what the value is. Yeah. Deputy Mayor, you mind if I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, sir. So I love the magazine and all, and is there a way to verify, are you guys verifying like how many people, what's the return on investment from like the larger cities? How many people are coming based on, hey, I saw a magazine ad?
that we depend on the businesses or the hotels to ask that question. Yeah, so.
Or do you guys follow up with our businesses and say, hey, you know, did you see a travel guide? Like, how is it all verified?
So one way to, a big identifier of the success of the guide is the distribution centers that we distribute to. They run out of the guides. They've been running out of them for a couple of years now. In 2024, they're almost out. Our area map historically has been, it was a 5,000, a 6,000, now it's gonna be a 7,000 print. And so we know that that's working. With our fulfillment, when people get in touch with our visitor information center for relocation, leisure activities, our mailings have been increasing each year, so we know that that's a good metric as well. And then tourism is, and since COVID has been rebounding, and in some of the areas we are better than 2019 figures. So I would say that what we're doing is working, and the fact that we run out of our guides each year, so for the last few years, yeah, since COVID.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm challenged by that as a metric, because in theory, someone could have just tossed it in the trash even though
They could have, you're
right?
absolutely right.
So is there an opportunity to develop more quantitative metrics that we can rely on moving forward to understand that it is increasing tourism in the community?
Yeah. I know that so Jennifer in our marketing department has talked about putting QR codes on the city pages. That if somebody, you know, when they scan that and it brings up the website, that would be another way to maybe see if they one of the things that we had was we had a company called Datafy, and Union Gap is a part of it because we have a marketing contract for Union Gap. And we had Datafy for Sunnyside, but it was dropped for 2024, but that is one listening tool that is good, would be a great metric for us to know what print and digital advertising is working for us, because they can track people through their cell phones and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, super creepy.
It is creepy, but we're using it for the right reason, so it's not that bad.
One other question I had is, I mean, what we desperately need is like really specific content creation, and
Yeah,
and I realize you guys do those serious targeted campaigns like for our signature events. But I went through your Facebook and Instagram pages, and Sunnyside had 2 posts year to date, you know, that were specifically Sunnyside. Could you guys build into your plan, like a videographer coming out and going to like, say, I don't know, it's one of our top restaurants?
we could build that in. We do have a relationship with a company called Digital Vendetta. And it was something that we had in the past, but it is quite spendy. And so if that's something that you guys would be interested, we could ask Cody, the proprietor, we could ask him for a bid to see what that would be. And a lot of the social media and things like that are centered around the signature events. So
Right, yeah, because I feel like we need, and most of your content is very Yakima centric or, you know, Upper Valley centric. And and I'm not trying to.
No, I totally understand, and I know where you're going.
Amazing job with
Yeah.
what you're producing, but because you guys have great reach on social media, could we provide, like, let's say we had a great picture of something, and would you guys be willing to post that on your social media so we have some value add?
So our marketing manager and I had a conversation about this, and so I see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
You do need somebody to do your social media.
Right.
And unfortunately, we don't have the staffing level to manage a social media program for you. And so I did read through Pixel Sauce. Our staff, we did read through Pixel Sauce proposal. And we see an opportunity for some collaboration, say if the assets that we have, if they manage your social media, they could put that information out there for you in terms of the social media part of it. But the one thing I did want to point out, if it's okay, is that the one thing I didn't see though, is that if they took over your website, or well, they'd have to start from scratch. And if they took over the advertising for you and they would have to start from scratch with that, I don't see in there, we have a marketing management fee of the 34,000 that'll help cover our staffing and our time to do these things for you. I don't see that. So one of the things that you would want to look at is what that's going to cost. If she's going to create the social media stuff for you, who's going to do it? I didn't see that cost in there. If she's going to create the ads for you for the magazines and stuff, who's going to place the ads? Is that Jacqueline? Jacqueline,
Right,
yeah.
That's not even, that's.
And
not
who's gonna-
be-
Yeah, so I would think about those things, but definitely social media is a huge tool. And you do need a dedicated staff person to do that for you. And unfortunately, I'm really sorry, but yeah.
No,
To
no.
clarify, and again, sorry for interrupting, you just create the materials, you give them to the entities to post on their own social media.
Yes,
So that's
we-
why we're not seeing any specific
Yeah.
dedicated posts on your page.
If we had one more staff person, if we were able to even get an assistant, we could do that. So Union Gap has somebody that does social media for them. And so through us, we started the branding for Union Gap, and then that's carried through with what Eric does for Union Gap. And I point to Tom because Tom's on the LTAC for that too. But yeah, there is a way to collaborate in the same way.
Thanks.
Can I ask one final question?
Sure.
This is a nice piece, but I see you don't distribute it in Spokane.
So there are distribution fees that Certified does charge for. And so because of budget limitations, the committee has picked which locations. And so Spokane was dropped, but Spokane is an area that we could put your guides into if you wanted to. So we'll do like 10.
Big dry area for us.
Yeah. And especially in the off season, people from Spokane are not necessarily afraid of driving to our area. And so are the folks that come up from Boise.
Or Missouri. So.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, but we could, if you say that we're willing to spend, so if we look at the budget, and if you say that for distribution of Sunnyside's travel guide, say you're willing to spend up to $10,000, then I could go back to Shannon, our contact, and I can say, okay, in Seattle, Portland, and Boise, if those are other markets are still what you want to do, and Spokane, what can you do for the 10,000 and in what quantities? And we can shift around that 35,000. Or we could even, Sunny, I don't know where Jacqueline's at with her 5,000 that she gets it, but if she's not giving out as many, we could take half of that other 2,250 and bump it up to 37, 250
Yeah,
and.
because we've got actually several boxes of.
Okay.
that you can
So we could
see.
even bump it up to just the outside distribution even more and throw that in the mix and do Seattle, Portland, Spokane, and keep Boise if you guys want. I would suggest Boise. Boise is a really big emerging market for us. So, yeah.
I have a few questions if anybody else. Do you just work with the Valley cities here from Sela to, I guess, Grandview?
We actually go down to Benton City.
Benton City?
Yeah, and then our furthest member is Ski White Pass. Yeah, and then we do have some members in Ellensburg.
And the majority of the funding that you get from the cities, and I went back and looked at different numbers. I guess Union Gap, you got some funding, 2020, 120 some thousand, but the majority comes from Sunnyside. Your funding, correct?
Well, not the majority. Union Gap is Union Gap and Yakima
Yeah.
are the biggest, yeah,
I didn't see Yakima as them investing
on the budget.
on the budget. But I guess one of my questions and concerns is also with the Yakima Valley, travel guide. Some of these events, they also pay you, right? So they pay Yakima Valley Tourism to be on these magazines or the restaurants?
Yeah, the
They're
Yeah,
advertising
so
it?
Yakima Valley Tourism as a destination marketing organization or DMO is membership. And so the travel guide is comprised of all of the members that we work with. And that's been something since like 1957. So that was, obviously before all of our times. And but yeah, so it's going to be all of the members that we represent are going to be in the travel guide for the different industries that we represent.
So And to go back to Mike's concern, the fact that Sunnyside, I put stickies on where Sunnyside was mentioned.
Okay.
It's not a lot. And that kind of concerns me because, we're paying a lot of money for this service, excuse me, eyes.
You're fine.
And I don't think we're fully getting the benefit of what we spend on a yearly basis, to be on this magazine and even this one over here, the travel guide, I believe the only thing that's really changed year after year is maybe the cover page. There's a different picture on it. But besides that, everything kind of stays the same. Also, I think at the beginning of the conversation, you stated that you send staff to these events, to get the media and the photography, but then you also stated that you haven't been able to get
In the
pictures.
past, yeah, in the past we were, yeah. So in the past, what it was is we sent our own photographers. And then for the last couple of years, you guys have wanted to use Andrew Hamill instead. Yeah, and Andrew's kind of hard to get a hold of. But the other thing of it is too, is that through marketing and promotion efforts, the idea is to get people to come here, but also, community growth. And so, with more businesses that come online, another hotel, more restaurants, things like that, there will be more to promote. And then more, of course, to expand your travel guide and things like that.
The online presence too, the social media, right? But then you guys have a Facebook, Yakima Valley.
Yeah.
And like Mike said earlier, there's not a lot of stuff about Sunnyside, right? So these events come up and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of youth on social media. And I don't think you're taking advantage of the presence of the online, it's a monster, right? You could do a lot of things online and a lot of advertising online.
I think the thing to think about too is that if you're seeing that there's more, so Yakima Valley, so the Yakima Valley Facebook page is a destination, it promotes the entire destination and it's going to promote the huge, the bigger community events and stuff. And the ones, of course, Yakima's going to have more. Prosser has quite a few. And then we promote the signature events that Sunnyside has. So the more events you have, the more things going on around here, the more we'd be able to promote. So there's that to think about. But the other thing that I would caution on too is that one of my mentors years ago had, in terms of marketing, had said that, the one thing that you don't want to slow down are your marketing efforts because you're going to lose your market share, you lose your brand recognition and things like that. And so I think it's maybe kind of a catch-22 that, the economy has slowed down a little bit, but getting more businesses online and having more things to do in and around Sunnyside, then we could promote the city of Sunnyside even more with more of those things, if you see what I'm saying. Yeah.
I kind of see it, but I still think an online presence and even advertising for Cinco de Mayo, for the Emblem Parade, for the Sunshine Days, right? I really didn't see too much of that being done online from Yakima Valley Tourism. It was more from the individual, organizations or event planners that were hosting and doing each of them separately. And we're giving them, money, and we're also, last year we had a big budget, and I think more presence online than what I actually been seeing, for the past years. So.
Yeah. And the one thing new this year, in years past, you wouldn't have seen it because you're not our target audience. Our target audiences are people who are 50 and 75 miles outside of the area. So the ads would not show up because you are not in the geo net that we cast. And so this year, Jennifer did expand that so that you guys could see more of that, but the bulk of it is outside of the area. And this year you would have seen a little bit of it, but in years past you wouldn't have seen any of it because you weren't the target, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Based on where you're located. Advertised.
Yeah.
Any other committee members have further questions? No? Hearing none, appreciate you being here and.
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Yeah, nice to meet you in person. Yeah. So you guys have a wonderful day. You too. Thank you so much. Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is the basketball the last one we have?
Yeah,
Is,
I have a quick question, so is for this agreement with Yakima Valley, just more for Mike, is that the only agreement in place is for the LTAC, or does the city have another agreement?
no.
Like
no,
a different,
No,
budget?
no, we've never truly had, Jackie has a small advertising budget, but she's a one-man band, so.
So the majority of the city's advertisement comes
It's,
from this LTAC
yeah,
section.
it really is, I mean. Yakima Valley Tourism
Exposed.
has,
We're totally exposed. They have our website, they have total control of it.
Yeah.
yeah, so, and that has been. Not a source of contention, but more of a conversation with Jackie to get them to relinquish control, so we can be more proactive on it, so. Cause Jackie does a great job, you know, she gets out there, takes pictures, and we would like to be able to upload our content. Because everybody's got budget constraints, personnel constraints, so that's a little bit of a topic of conversation that we've had, so. How do we get control so we can upload a photo or, you know, create a blog article? And that's something. Look, I was in the news business 20 years, we could do it ourselves, it's just a matter of.
Personnel.
Yeah, you know, we only have so much time and money to make that happen. But you know, they certainly are experts in magazine and all, you know, and all those kind of things, but. It would be great if they could take some of that and we can content create for specific purposes, because they obviously do a great job, it's just. My only. I guess my primary take is I just wish there was more valley, this area of the valley centric content that was fresh, shared on their social media platforms. You know, that was just vibrant, so. Cause I think sometimes with magazines and with travel guides, you don't know the return on investment as specifically.
Well, this financial income statement they provided was from 2023, and they're not a profitable organization that year. So if the city, not saying the city is responsible for the profitability, but if we didn't approve this amount of 85,000, it'll also impact their overall success in the future as a organization, right? And they might.
I don't think so.
No, well, but then how are they making money right now?
John Cooper, is the executive director, is very resourceful. And I've known this organization for 15 years.
John is online. He wants to-
No, yeah, I'm curious, because I don't know how much of an element of, because we asked all this information in the packet for these organizations that are submitting for proposal, and one of the reasons we asked for income statement is to ensure that they're
And
operating effectively.
I believe they're partially funded by the city of Yakima too.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so they get a large amount of funding,
Okay,
and then I want to say they're also supported by the convention center. So they have funding resources. I can't say I'm an expert on, but having gone through the Yakima city manager process, I know a little bit about them, I met with them. So I mean, their net is wide across. But
do we wanna get the basketball? Yeah.
yeah, let me see if I can get a hold of them.
are we gonna obviously run out of time?
Yeah.
I have an obligation at 1:30.
30.
I think he's our only person left. I'm glad he is.
Yeah.
So,
Might have to make this a part, discuss numbers.
So we've learned something. Give each presentation story.
Yeah.
There are those who will think.
More.
How much time would it take?
he said he might not answer. So,
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
yeah,
Late of them.
British.
yeah.
So,
And like I said, what he told me to communicate was he appreciates the past support.
I can tell you a little bit about what they do just from my experience with AE basketball, if you guys.
Yeah,
And what I don't know is I don't know which venues he uses. I'm assuming he uses high school and some of those school courts.
yeah, I saw that on his application.
But they're on the Inland Empire AAU basketball website, and they're part of an array of basketball tournaments and opportunities that people have these AAU teams can choose from to go and compete, and they range from the kids, like first and second graders all the way up through high school. AAU basketball is big, very, very big. And it's a way, I guess, for people who are into basketball to stay basically practice stuff you want. But these are basically private teams that will travel to participate, and they will pay to participate in the tournament. They're guaranteed a certain number of games. They will come, they will pay, they will stay in hotel rooms. I know AAU does generate heads and beds, but it's from a lodge and tax perspective. It's a very good candidate, a very good candidate. It's just a question of how much, if any of these conflict with other AAU events, and I started to go through the AAU website and I didn't see any conflicts. But it might be partly because some of the AAU events don't make it onto the Inland Empire AAU website. Some of them are independent, a rogue, if you will. But the AAU is huge. If you were to go to Yakima the first week in May, the second week in May, you would have the best of the rest. AAU boys one weekend, girls the second weekend. The town is full. Completely full.
I have a question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but one of the questions I had for this person, if they were here, is on their application, though, they don't say how many expected accommodation nights, so we can't do your little formula.
I did something for them.
Okay,
And
if you have half numbers, you know how many people stay for these events, most likely,
What I
an
did-
estimation.
what I did was I did a generous estimate for everybody to see what, and I'll just say, if we have 300 hotel rooms and they fill every single hotel room.
Do they? The,
I'm
like,
no, they don't.
oh, okay,
But what I'm doing is I'm doing
Yeah.
a generous estimation, so I come up with a figure that I can recommend to the group here. If there's 600 rooms, depending on the time of the year, and these are spaced out, I don't know if you were familiar with that, but
yes.
there's one in
They're all
April, there's
different.
one in,
Time period.
so he's got one in April, he's got one in June, one in June conflicts with AleFest, by the way. He's got
There was one in August.
August and October, I think he's got another one, it's 5 of them.
For the sunshine.
Yeah, the Sunshine Day was the September one.
So they're spread out, they don't necessarily conflict with other events that are taking place in the city, so your hotel rooms are available, which is important. And you wanna make sure you synchronize it, so you don't have Cinco de Mayo sitting on top of the Sunshine Day sitting on top of the race. So same concept. These are, he probably comes closest.
But he didn't submit any budget information at all. So like, I have no idea how much it costs to run these events. I have no idea how much this $5,000 matters. You know, if we are in subsequent years awarded them less than the ask. The same Hardwood Classic, he asked last year for $4,000, we awarded $3,000, assuming they submitted receipts for all $3,000. What percentage of that is for the total project?
That's what I saw some, I printed off the financials for the groups that.
This is just on the
Under that.
on the form, I can keep looking through all these other.
I didn't see any
any.
financials on there at all.
These usually make money. They don't.
I'm
Well,
sure
we can't just assume that, though, he didn't provide that information. What if it didn't make money?
But he had 40 teams and I think he was charging $300 as an entry fee. 40 teams times 300, $12,000, right?
But I'm gonna budget for the van, you know,
He's gonna have to rent the facility, he's gonna have to pay maybe some referees, just depends. He might have a little bit of money spent with the website just to get his presence there, and I don't know if he doesn't get it, sure, it's all word of
You
mouth.
have the hard copy?
but I agree with you about the AAU, it's because, yeah, I did AAU with my son, and we would go, and there would be a lot of us, a bunch of us,
Yeah.
parents and
Yeah, support
brothers
group.
and sisters, and, yeah.
Engaging support group.
So committee members, we have I guess an important decision to make. Due to time, do we want to continue or do we want to call for another meeting to talk numbers, see what we can recommend?
I would say let's do what we can.
Okay.
But you have a 1:30,
Yes.
I should have left a long time ago, but I really want to get
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
There's a meeting notice to 12:45.
Oh, 45, I'm gonna do
Oh, you know what? It's a good question.
It
Yes,
does.
it ends
I
at
say
12:45.
that, in which case,
it. Yeah.
Can you not extend the meeting? You can by motion extend the meeting beyond the published time, but it has to be done by motion with the body.
Do you have a motion?
I would move we extend it to 1:30.
Well, I have to look slightly before, it takes me just 5 minutes, but it's 1:15.
Go second.
I would second it.
Okay, got a motion and a second to extend it to 1:15. Or was it 1:30?
1:15.
1:15?
Thank you.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll extend it
I did that
to.
right.
Yes, if you do,
You're looking-
you
you're
need
looking
a
at
simple
me.
majority for that, what you have, so.
Okay. And so what I found in the application for Sunshine Days 3-on-3 basketball tournament at the end is a part of their documentation for 509 Insanity Sports Program is a very short form 990. Yeah, part one, but it has like very limited numbers of the expenses, so I don't know if they submitted that.
For a tax return,
Yeah,
it's on the next page too. isn't it? We never want to do that.
well, no, like it's just it doesn't have all the information that I think we need.
So,
Or have at least asked of other applicants that they all did provide. To John Nybor's point of, it's a lot to provide and everyone else has provided it.
do we wanna then just go one by one, discuss, I guess we can start with Simple and Mile. They're requesting,
Thank you for lending them a hard copy. That was hard to
they're
see.
requesting 30, but they can do with 20. They were funded 20,000 in 2000 this year, yeah. So what are we thinking on? Simple
Sorry,
Mile?
before we move forward, were you able to gather information on what so like if we have Cinco de Mayo, if it had $20,000 last year, did they collect all 20,000? I know the answer for that one, but like for the subsequent ones, will we have that information to share?
Because I know we're trying to figure out based on the prior regime. Cause some stuff wasn't collected correctly.
And the reason I feel that's value added is because if they didn't need the funds in subsequent years, it might not justify awarding the funds to
Yes, I completely agree.
So it's just,
Old one, I was given one back in May, open. So from January to May, the only LTAC funds that were paid out was the Miss Sunnyside Committee, 2,000,
they should apply this.
and the Yakima Valley Tourism,
Oh.
41,000. Yeah, so it's.
Okay, so I guess we have to just deliberate without that information.
Yeah, let me check to see with Debbie if she can verify, because I wanted to just verify it. Cause we have some monies that, some expenditures that look like they've been paid out through 24. Let me just figure out real quick if she has.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
My suggestion is Cinco de Mayo has been around for a long time. It does make money. Purpose of the lodging tax, at least what we've talked about in the past, is to further tourism, but also to startups.
Incubate.
And then after a while, if an event's been around for all, we want it to stand on its own and be self-sufficient. And this event has been around for 34 years. It is self-sufficient. I don't have a problem with funding it because it does generate buzz for tourism in Sunnyside, but in the entire valley. And this is something that we need to talk about perhaps at another meeting. That's a long-term focus. But the amount they are asking for, I think is too much. I would recommend we fund the maximum of $15,000. And I think we'd be just fine with that. More than, they're not gonna generate $50,000 in lodging tax, but that's okay. It's a signature event for Sunnyside. Sunnyside has, I think, the largest Cinco de Mayo celebration in the state. And Sunnyside needs to maintain that position. You've got Pasco jumping in, you've got other. We have to maintain these things. We had the only latest under the parade. I said for a number of years, we need to copyright and trademark that. What's happened is other communities have stolen that from us. We no longer have that thunder. there's a lot of good things that are here, let's
Yeah.
keep our hands around it.
It's not very fast.
My only feedback for that is, as Victoria shared, that was only the first year that the organization operated it. So even though it's been an ongoing event for a number of years in the community, it was the first year that this group operated it.
Yeah.
So,
You remember she said that she realized they could have charged more to the vendors and they did not. And that was probably a good idea because it was their first year, they're just building a relationship with them. But I think they have an opportunity for more revenue that way.
Do we know how much we could provide that information?
well, in the submittal, if you look at the packet, there is the financial report from the 2024 event.
Okay.
And it does show the $20,000 LTAC funds were completely utilized.
Okay.
I
I think if they grow, I mean, they're saying they want to grow, they want to expand, they want to do different things. I don't know, I think it's kind of hard to cut the budget like that. I probably would want to give them the opportunity another year to see what they can do, to see what they can, bring to the table to Sunnyside and expanding it. And then, kind of take it from there. But I mean, they did it this year, they kind of have an idea of what they're doing, what they can change. And then we cut the budget, I think it's gonna hurt.
What exactly did I miss with what they're gonna change other than more entertainment?
If you could speak to that?
Yeah, it's hard because I don't want
I mean, they have
to.
just different
Yeah,
ideas out there.
I think it's just the potential for growth, the entertainment growth is in order to attract more people to the event itself, which then. And so the majority of the changes that would happen is just increase in growing the entertainment to have it fully happening on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to keep people here all weekend to compete with those area other community that are having it going on at the same time. So.
Well, but the only problem I have is
I
that
don't
their
know, right.
request is for $30,000. They're expecting 100 overnight stays. That's $300 per overnight guest.
The math doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense when you do it like that for heads and beds, but it still brings in tourism, it still brings, people into Sunnyside and.
Well, and that's
Correct me if
to my
I'm
point
wrong.
about using that formulation of just heads and beds isn't going to be enough to determine anyone's viability for their project because there's so many other elements and these people who are putting the applications together are also making assumptions. No one has the actual facts. Not trying to say that because of malicious intent or anything. They just don't have the resources to get the quantifiable, precise data because it's so much elements that are unknown. So and that comes back to a different discussion on this application process. I think is needs to be revised.
So this is where, what I did was I just assumed that every one of them was highly successful.
Yeah.
And it filled all the whole
And then,
programs.
but we still wouldn't capture very much revenue.
But people need to understand that that's what they're trying to accomplish, so that at least they understand the baseline. If you got somebody who comes and asks for $50,000, and they're not gonna generate, the guest revenue anywhere close to that, it's a disproportionate ask.
Yeah.
So, can we agree on, I would think, Mike, you had a.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor, I was gonna direct this towards Ben and the committee. Cause one of the bits of feedback I've gotten from Debbie, she has a very accounting mind and, risk averse. And one of her takes on like how we've audited in the past is we've sort of handed over the money. And this has nothing to do with Rotary and this particular discussion, but just in general. Like we've handed over money to people and organizations and, they said they're gonna do this and that, they don't necessarily do it. I guess I have a few-fold question. Could the committee and the city dictate, like, we want you guys to do this much in advertising with this, cause then, I'm noticing like Bustos Media, who's a great media organization. Like if you hand over 30 to Bustos and go to town and, where's the accountability of like, okay, part of it, I wanted, you know, we, the committee, you guys, the committee, not me, wanted marketing for the hotel, and wanted marketing for restaurants, marketing for this. Could we dictate to, let's say, I don't know,
Go for.
Sunnyside Ale Fest, you know, the Ale Fest, you know, we're gonna give you 10 grand, we want 2,500 to go to this, 25. Show, and you know, when you're done, show us what you did, because that is the missing element in all of this, because everybody shows back up and goes, here's my receipt for this, and then we reimburse them and we go, where was the return on investment? And so
But
that
that's
just.
very operational, like, is that the role of this committee, is to operationalize these events and these
And that's
proposals?
that's the question I'm asking, because. You know, we have, part of this, we take it on good faith, like as the city, but you know, the city gets criticized for. Like, you guys didn't even pay attention to what was going on, you know, so. And I'm asking the committee for like, what is your take on it? I'm not saying that we put in, you know, like new policies or anything, but.
I would suggest that that's a bit of overreach. I would, if an organization comes and they say they're gonna use the money for advertising, LTAC allows that. Give them money, and the audit happens when you get the receipts.
Right,
And you say, this is not advertising,
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
And we could, and this, I was talking earlier about the scope of the funding, because it is challenging for the end users to understand what is an
Right,
allowable
right.
expense. And so there's still an opportunity to go down the route you're looking at without being super prescriptive, but to provide whether it's education in supplement to the agreement on what are allowable expenses.
right.
And then
it's education.
also what the city expects to see in the audited financial.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have groups of new people doing the things.
If you're gonna condition benchmarks, they can't be unique to just.
Yeah, it would be for,
Right,
And you can't add them in now, if you want to put it as part of your rules of procedure going forward for.
yeah, and
application
this is a
tax,
future thing, like,
can't do
the
that.
horse is already out of the barn.
But they have to be generally applicable to all applicants that can.
Yeah, okay.
Situation.
Well, that's a good perspective, because I think maybe we could build like some education pieces beforehand to applicants and say, hey, here's sort of the expectations, you know, that for the marketing elements or whatever the case may be. But you know, and I was just kind of the take that I've gotten, you know, from on some of the, I guess, the accountability pieces of where the money went, you know.
so, sorry, I know we're getting really off track of what you're trying to corral us to do. But even if we eliminated Pixelsoft of their application, we're looking at a little bit close to $200,000 of an ask, and we have $143,000 to work with. So we know that not all entities are going to receive the entirety of their asks.
Correct.
And so with that, I'm having a hard time with Cinco de Mayo. I'm trying my best to be fair and all those things. So if I look at other examples, is there an opportunity to still provide funding for almost everyone, but just at a universally reduced rate based on the amount of funds we have? So like more of a systematic approach, if we have $143,000 to spend, but we have $200-some thousand of asks, can we not just assign a percentage to each of them down the line?
I guess we could.
Unless we
start
feel like
with-
there's
We
some,
could start with an event that the committee feels that, you know. It's not gonna work out, or definitely the funding's not gonna be there. And you just kind of go off of that.
So I will be transparent. I have a hard time approving the 509 insanity stuff, not because I don't think that they're valuable events, but because of the lack of information in the request for proposal. And I understand that the person wasn't able to join by phone, so I'm not sure how to move forward with those ones.
And I'll say this here,
Go
he
ahead.
did, when I called him, I said, hey, did you receive the emails? He said, oh yeah, I received them all. But he, you know, he did not verify with me on the record that I will not be there. So, you know, he clearly knew that this meeting was happening.
I don't
But
want it to not happen.
No, exactly. But I wanted to let the public know if they're watching, you know, he was fully aware of the meeting date. He just had to work. So,
I mean, can we make it to where we kind of use the numbers from what you got in 2024?
I would just argue it's
I would,
because there's no the application's incomplete.
yes.
And so if another entity, yes, if we're talking just in fairness, if another entity submitted an application incomplete, would we still review it?
I think that we can get stuck between form and substance. And yes, form, the application is incomplete, but substance, is there substance there that makes this an LTAC based funding? And if we want to get stuck on form, done that before, it's not a good idea. The substance issue, yeah, that's a
But it's
concern.
subjective, it's subjective substance.
If you, and also just to, in response to your comment about just a proportional reduction to everybody, if somebody disproportionately asks, they still get a disproportionate reduced amount. That's, I think I need to take these one at a time.
Well, and I think as the LTAC committee, that's kind of our charge is to see how this makes sense, not just to use a formula, because Debbie could use a formula and reduce these where, you know, I think it's more fair to go through them and, you know, look at the actuals, so.
I think in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, have we given these applications extra time to complete the app?
In a couple of occasions, yes, we've gone back and we've said, we need some additional information to fill out your application. And I think 509 was one of them, to be honest with you. So they submitted more information this time than they have in the past. So it's, we could say, we're not gonna fund you right now, we need more information, we need all the financials. I understand. I only have so much time a day. All of us only have so much time a day. We, at the end, we want to be good stewards and we want to do what's right for the side. And so we have what's in front of us. I say we examine what's in front of us and we make decisions based on what's in front of us and move forward. But I think we're also not, we don't have a long-term plan. Sometimes the long-term plan says you don't have to fund everything. You save some money because you got other things you want to do. And I'll give you as an example. And on the Union Gap Lodging Tax Committee for years, their long-term plan was to take an asset that they had, nobody else has, which is Central Washington Museum, pour money into it, develop it to a point where it becomes a tourist attraction. And they have done that. And then starting to turn. It's going to take some time to do that here, but it's like has
It's not something that.
there's all kinds of things. But we have to take the time to step back, focus on it and say, we're gonna do this. We're gonna continue to put money into it until it generates a return. We have never done that.
No.
We just, everybody comes through the door.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. After this is all said and done, definitely we'll meet again and discuss, plan going forward. So, I mean, we have, and again, and it's gonna be tough decisions, right? It's really tough decisions right now. I don't know, I get the direction from the committee, what they feel we should do.
I have a thought. We may not be able to come to a conclusion today, but my thought would be, I can give you a list of all the recommendations that you can take a look at. We can meet next time to talk about it. And feel free to question me, poke holes in my. I don't have a problem with that.
I can live with that.
Would that be something, maybe each give your recommendations and I can work to schedule? Maybe next week sometime or ASAP, as you guys, I know some people are going on vacation. Sierra, I think you're out next week.
No, I have continuing at the week before Thanksgiving.
Or what everybody could do is email me available dates. Gosh, October is already over, so early November. Cause I with some of these things, I think 15 minutes, just my take on it is, a big ask for, cause I feel like there was a lot of questions with certain groups that came. So I don't think it would be fair. to
Can
them.
we, I guess, can we, after this meeting, email our recommendations, right? And
Yeah.
then have
But
another
let
meeting.
me ask the Ben that I'm not the lawyers.
You can now, I may be open to public records.
Yeah.
requests.
Yeah, we'll-
Yeah.
You're watching this now.
That's true.
The question I have for Tom is, the one that I don't have a good grip on or where we want to go with is the Yakima Valley tourism. That's the big elephant in the room.
That seemed like the biggest question mark to everybody.
Yeah.
They are. That's the problem.
Yeah, they
If
have,
you wanna maintain a digital presence without starting from scratch, you gotta go with them. So there's $34,000, and that's why I asked, how much of that is the website? And what we have done in the past with that is we've gone back and we've said, here's the dollar amount that you're able to do, this is where we want you to focus. And they've done that. But there's all kinds of stuff in here that I would question something. So. But until we have the website ourselves, we're beholden to that.
so I'm gonna bring in Jacqueline, because she's the one who's really been the conduit to Yakima Valley tourism. So we're talking about their website presence and how they operate with us. And we've talked about, they have full control of the website, correct?
Correct.
And then for us to upload our content, we can't ourselves, right?
We can.
So how robust is our web presence on their website? Like what is on it that is extremely significant and brings people to Sunnyside? I mean, your opinion.
And I don't wanna say I can't, because they did at one point want to give the site back to us when their amount was reduced, so there's probably a way for them to give us access. So, but right now we don't, so everything that we do, we just draft it for them. Here's a picture, here's the title, the description, add it on there. And so we usually tell people to, on our website, it's highlighted on there, visit Sunnyside, and they go straight to that page. It highlights all of our signature events. We can add on any other events that the community may have, like the smaller ones, if someone's having a bazaar or something, but we haven't really received any information from others. If we see it on Facebook or something, we'll try to highlight that. And I just recently started posting, hey, can you, if anyone has any events, just submit it. Other than that, it's really just
So we
their
have to do the
content.
work essentially, is what it sounds like.
Mhm.
I will point out, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, the graphics, at least in my opinion, are top notch. Daniel is worth the price of admission. He does the graphics work. So you get value by that.
And I like that he stays on brand for all of our materials. It's always the, the blue, the green, and that's what I try to stick to whenever I create anything.
I
You
get
can
a point where they have our website and just because they do, if you wanna go a different direction, I guess it's a good time to just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and.
But doing this internally is going to cost more than what they're projecting.
Initially, yes.
Well, and ongoing. I mean, if I just look at my own experience with marketing expenses, it's going to be much more than this. Because imagine just hiring a full-time graphic designer.
Well, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Contract that.
So you would just piecemeal it all.
Well, you have somebody who puts it all together,
But then you would still be hiring someone to put it all together? Or would you?
Or,
But not full.
This is something that was talked
Yeah.
about. at the
That's
city
why I
council.
just think you'll still, I don't know if we've done enough of an analysis to understand if you did subcontract it or if you hired people to do it, what is the cost of bringing it internally? And how does that compare to what we're paying?
And I have some
Yeah,
experience with that, working at cities and counties where we hired that out. So typically, you'll pay a production company a set amount. They'll guarantee so much content creation within a bucket of say $4,000. Then they tier it up. And usually that content creation is very tailored to specific events, video creation, blog posts, which is very current. It's more like, hey, we're gonna do something on the implement break. Can you put together a video that is, it's not stale essentially. So, I talked a little bit with PixelSoft about this as they present it, because they've worked with what's the Prosser, yeah, so they were working with Prosser. So they kind of have an understanding of like how to market. And I certainly, I didn't get into details with what, then their submission wasn't that robust, like, but the anecdotal was like, yeah, we create content that is essentially, and they were very familiar with the Yakima Valley. so I think that was more of their selling point was, we come in, we market your assets that are there, based on the events and things like that. There was also more of like a level of support for you that would, they would come in and take the pictures, do the video, support us that way. That now they wouldn't have control of our website or anything like that. They would just provide the content on a more consistent basis. So while it's happening, before it's happening and while it's happening. So I think, having been in the news and marketing business for 20 years, like things move fast now, it's like, and I appreciate what Yakima Valley does with their brochures are incredible. Magazines are amazing. But I think we're missing the boat, like in terms of marketing here, it's like current, we don't have that current marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the vast majority of people, it's because I go to Spokane a lot, Tom. My wife's from there and I spend a lot of time there. They don't know much about us, Spokane. I mean, but I feel like that's a market that could be marketed to. And I understand with like some of their events, like we didn't see it in town because but at the same time, they are covering Yakima quite a bit. I looked, I wanted to verify and I wanted to see what they were covering. And we had 2 posts on their Facebook and social media platforms. That needs to increase, if we're paying them a significant amount of money. Because those events they're doing, Yakima has a lot of signature events and they're pre-marketing and, doing it during the event.
So I guess, cause the time, constraints, then we talked about the sunshine days, nobody applied for it, nobody applying for the implement parade. Can we motion to open it up for sunshine days, the implement parade, and maybe for another tourism company that
These people didn't apply.
apply
If you're going to reopen the application process, it has to be open to the general public.
for any event?
For any event, yes.
Okay.
So anything that could apply tourism dollars the idea is if you have excess funds that you want to make available in the situation, going forward beyond what has already been applied for, and want to make that available, it has to be noticed to the general public for application process with a new deadline.
And we could ask 509 Insanity to provide a complete application.
Yeah, what is the name? Numbers.
Well, if they don't do it, I mean.
Yeah, I could reach out to 509 and tell them, look, we need just be specific on what they need and then open it up to the general public because. And I don't want to give anybody the perception, like, I love what Yakima Valley does. It'd be nice to have a supplement current marketing in conjunction with what they're doing.
The committee is always able to ask for additional information from applicants as well. That for consideration.
I have a question from budget consideration. Can we just give you the dollar amount to plug into the budget so that you can move forward? And then
That's a good question, because that's a question that I was talking to Debbie about. Could the city utilize LTAC dollars for the specific use of tourism and, providing visitors to hotels? Is that a use, or would the city have to apply for those funds or?
No, the city can allocate it to itself at this point.
Okay.
So we could in theory give them the 85,000, for example, and then they would contract with Yakima Valley Tourism. Or Pixel Soft.
We did in the past where it's their spreadsheet that they have, they just broke it apart and said, we want less print material, we want more social media, you can do whatever you want, it's the direction.
Because I would say for me, that would be ideal, and for Jacqueline, I think we both have expertise in that area, and we could probably leverage those dollars more effectively, or more targeted, I should say. That would be the preferred methodology in my mind, and I certainly would use Yakima Valley. I would probably explore some other companies, not, in addition to Pixelsoft or whoever that. Because the news guy in me is, I'm current, I need content now, I need content at the event, I need, I need that, that's my mindset to get people there. Capture the event while it's happening, and that's just gonna enhance our brand.
The original purpose of the statute was to have cities have this available so cities could go and publicize events for themselves. And it wasn't until 1990 that it opened up to other organizations to come in and just ask for that. So that was the ultimate
I
purpose.
agree, it will be easier to manage, I mean, this committee can't manage the Yakima Valley Tourism Board. I think it'd be much wiser to, because council members do have say over what the city manager is doing, so we would have some oversight of what he's doing with the money. But then he has oversight of Yakima Valley tourism, and I think that would be a win-win situation, is he gets to give it to them on the results of their actions.
And they're really good to work with if I just email them and say, hey, do we have money for these pictures at this event? Yes, we can do something with it, with the money we have left, or the only thing is that if you are going to amend their proposal, sometimes it's good to check with them, because if you lower it down like we did in the past, sometimes it's just not worth it for them to say, hey, we have other costs that this doesn't work out for us. Like they said, we'll give you back all of your website, here's your printed material. So
That's what we're at 115.
Yeah, so
And you guys vote to extend.
Go ahead, if you need to extend.
we have a motion
To go.
go.
There's your quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
We
we adjourn or?
Well,
Continue?
we've got a couple more minutes, yeah, well.
Will we use quorum?
You can't vote on anything at this
Oh.
point.
But you can.
To continue this.
And if you want, I can continue this to a different date. You just need to-
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
can we just continue to a different date and
Yeah.
reconvene soon?
So we have to do that.
And we're still supposed to send our recommendation or no?
So your calendar is free.
Does it have to be by motion?
No, you just have to establish on the record, next day it's going to be.
Right.
yes.
Okay.
And what about,
How soon?
to reopen it for the sunshine and some stuff? We do that.
You
now?
would still need to renotice that if you're doing it for applicants that issue received.
So how soon do we want to reconvene? Which week?
I'm available next Thursday and Friday,
Me too.
and the following week.
I'm available next Thursday and Friday.
Not available.
I am.
I'm available.
I'm available every day.
Available Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, I can make, I can move some things around, I mean, you guys,
So time wise, what are you guys thinking?
We're gonna need a couple of hours.
Wait, would it start at what time?
I'm available on Thursday after 1 o'clock and Friday after 11.
Is it Thursday at 2?
Fine, Thursday 7 to 2. And I was supposed to obviously inspection. They did this morning. I told them I can't come.
Well, yes,
They're
that's-
inspecting the hotel process.
so.
I'm sorry about my time constraints right now.
Okay, so Thursday, the 7th, 2 p.m.
Okay,
We want to do it here, we have to do it here in Ports.
I can send out a calendar invite to everybody, so it's on.
They give you time,
I won't be here.
but you don't need to post.
I can, yeah, except I can post it today.
Yeah, and it's just a continuation of this agenda, right, so.
Yes.
The item will just be to discuss the proposals received.
Well, if there's.
Unless you think you'll take action, it's just discussing it.
Well, I hope we
Are
can.
you planning on taking action?
Okay,
Then that has to be noticed.
Is there any opportunity for the 509 Insanity to come then?
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
We can do that,
that's
because it's
fine.
just a
Yeah.
continuation.
The
of the
application that
agenda.
was timely submitted.
Okay, I'll reach out to that gentleman, that's,
I just need to know if you expect to take action so I can include it in the agenda.
Yes, we're looking to give our
I'll copy and
proposal
paste
for
the
the-
same exact agenda, just change the date.
so do we want the group to email me the suggestions or?
That's up to you. You're more than welcome to do that. Just understand that anything.
Yeah.
Can we just bring them to that
We
meeting?
could bring him to the
Yeah.
meeting.
So that we don't have to worry about too many, the email things, but if we just bring it to the meeting,
Any notes you have or discussions you have.
Yeah, ultimately, I think they are
so just bring them to
requestable.
the meeting.
Yeah, and then we
We
can,
can email them, because we can see how far off we are. I don't have an issue with that.
I just can't make a recommendation without the 509 presentation, and if we're gonna do that on Thursday. I'm not
You can
gonna,
make recommendation of others.
You know,
Well, no,
whatever, you
'cause
said
that- yeah,
don't
then-
meet publicly someplace all for it.
Oh, we wouldn't.
Okay.
No more than two of us.
No.
okay.
yeah.
So adjourn. So if there's nothing further, I adjourn this meeting at 1:20 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Thursday, so, let's see.
Okay, I'll put it on there really quick.
It's very nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah, appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. It's a good find you.
And this, I don't know if this